Multiworld randomizer tournament here at Multithon, featuring team Yeah No Yeah Sure and team, and no, my mic didn't cut out. They are team. They are going to be running HollowKnight and A Link to the Past. And here joining us, we have Hopop and Vicioussuke. Incredible race. So I'm going to pass it off to them. Let's get this finale started.
Well, I'm here once again for the last time with the finals of an Archipelago tournament that I ran over the last month in the Archipelago server. We had a nice 2v2 tournament with 8 different teams of 16 players total. These are our finalists. Team Yano Yashur, Ruby Roo.
Howdy.
The Far, or just Far.
Yeah, that's me.
And for team, we have Miro.
Hello.
And Akos. And I am joined by someone with much more knowledge about both these games than me. Chuchi? Did I spell it right?
Hi, I'm Vicioussuke Violet. I'm a speedrunner of HollowKnight and Link to the Past.
Lovely. Well, all of our runners are ready with their skins and sprites that you all donated for. So if we're all ready to go, I will count us down easily in 3. Oh. All right, yes, I will get the runners into their racing channels, and then I will do the countdown live and in chat for them. Goodbye, runners. See you at the end.
Good luck.
All right, looks like our runners are already now in their own channels. Let's count them down in 3, 2, 1, go.
Here we go.
Link to the Past.
Okay.
Past and HollowKnight. 2 very interesting games and very... Oops, sorry, yeah, hold on. Yeah, sorry about that, we were a bit early. Alright, well. Better late start, hopefully it doesn't cause too many issues. Apologies for that. Yeah, so HollowKnight, Link to the Past. 2 very common games, I believe, in both randomizer and speedrunning.
Not to interrupt you, but we're immediately seeing one of the glitches on Akos' stream. So right now, what they're trying to do is the Houlihan room glitch. It's sort of a glitch, sort of an exploit, but essentially it's a way to farm rupees really, really fast. There's a bunch of different ways to get it, but what it boils down to being is that it's a way of, if you somehow nullify the transition that you're trying to go into and then enter a downwards transition, the game will put you in the Houlihan room as like a failsafe. And it's a really good way of farming like 250 rupees, which both of the Link to the Past runners are doing right now. They're farming either bombs or money at the moment, while the HollowKnight runners make their way through King's Pass, the opening area of the game. Notably, they only have the down slash ability. This is a particular thing that Archipelago likes to do. They tend to randomize pretty much everything, and that includes the different nail directions, and the only one that you will start with is the down slash ability, which is also allowing you to pogo on spikes, enemies, all kinds of things. So you'll see some really cool skips from that.
Certainly an interesting choice to only start with being able to attack down. But
yeah,
does allow them to pogo, if I'm correct, which is...
That is correct, yes.
Probably one of the biggest. Well, that looks like an interesting item that just came up for Far.
Yeah, that's a pretty big item, hookshot. That's going to allow Far to not only travel really quickly, but also allows you to stun enemies and go across gaps, which can be a form of access for certain areas as well, which is really, really nice. For the start bit, we're going to see runners typically go through Kakariko Village and the Lost Woods. That's like our kind of hub area for the game. It's going to have about, I want to say 15 or 16 items just in that area alone. So a lot of Sphere 1 is just going to be there. So it's always the place where people tend to go.
I have heard tales of strong items in Kakariko Wells, Hospital's Hut, sometimes even Blind's Hideout.
Oh, absolutely.
We see.
Oh, and there's a sword and a bow. Wow. Okay, those are some big items right away. So typically in Link to the Past, you don't start with a sword, and you do have to go and find that. So needing to find an alternative weapon, such as the hookshot or the bow, can be a really big part of early game routing. But finding the sword there is actually really, really good because it means that Fire's going to be able to get right into dungeons very, very quickly.
Do you also want to know? It looks like in that Kakariko Well was Monomon for Ruby, which, as we can now see on the HollowKnight, creates infected crossroads, which is an interesting location to get very early, if I'm correct.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I barely even noticed that. So in HollowKnight, the Forgotten Crossroads has two versions of it, which is Forgotten Crossroads and Infected Crossroads. And Infected Crossroads basically upgrades all the enemies to like a super version of them. It adds a couple extra obstacles, changes the geography a little bit, and that is unlocked when you get your first Dreamer in Rando. In Vanilla, it's unlocked by a couple other additional features, but just for consistency, that's not allowed in Rando. But yeah, it's going to be a little bit harder for Ruby to navigate just in the early game part where you don't really have any spells, you don't have much damage, you've only got a down slash, and every enemy takes a billion gajillion hits to kill, which is always fun to watch.
I don't think we noted this, but I do believe the HollowKnight runners did start with their focus, which allows them to heal.
At the very least, they can heal, that is true. You can also randomize focus, but that is reserved for only the craziest of runners.
I do see focus often randomized, or on a standard randomizer for HollowKnight Archipelago server, but since this is a race, and we do want to make it at least a little bit nicer for our runners to get done in a hopefully timely fashion.
Okay, and yeah, having a look at...
Getting all those items for themselves and that Monomon for Miro.
Yeah, so Miro's gonna find Monomon. The Crossroads isn't immediately gonna update, it updates when you go through a transition, so there we go, suddenly every enemy is big and scary. So that can be quite a shock for the runners sometimes, and it's very entertaining.
I'm looking right now, seeing the list of the items for the players that are coming into the Archipelago text client. I do see that Far does have both the big key and small key for Harrow Castle, which is probably why they're going through that right now. Let me see. Ruby is fighting a mini boss, or one of the early game bosses.
Yeah, this is the Gruzmother. It's a enemy that gives you access to 2 different shops, which is a really good way of getting a bunch of items for HollowKnight. One of the shops does require some form of movement, whether that's a shade skip, which requires no movement, or a dash, a claw, something like that. So that's a really good way of getting a lot of early game items, either for you or for your partner. But also notably, this version of Archipelago, what is randomized is a little bit different from what I would consider to be standard for A Link to the Past. This is a version called, I believe it's called Key Sanity, where essentially what what is randomized is not localized to every dungeon. So that means every small key, every big key, map, and compass can be found anywhere in the world, which makes routing a lot more complicated overall. And it's always really interesting to see.
Just a small note on that it's not actually all the keys that are randomized. Because if it was all the keys for Link to Pass, there would be a lot of going in and out of all the dungeons. We have
True.
randomized only specifically the big keys.
Ah, I see. Okay.
The bosses and the big chests.
That's really interesting, actually. Yeah, no, I really like that, actually. That's a very cool way of adding like an extra layer of required access for each dungeon. And obviously that does also mean that the big key can be in the dungeon normally, so it could be a gamble to go in there when you don't have the big key.
Yeah, we just don't want the runners going into a dungeon, getting 2 to 3 checks because they don't have a key and then having to leave again. There might be a little bit of going in and out of dungeons because of those big keys, but for the most part, if a runner's going to go into a dungeon, it is probably because they can clear it or do most of it.
Yeah, for Link to the Past, at least, not every dungeon is required. There are, I'm very good at counting. There are 7 plus 3,
Yeah.
10 dungeons in the game that have a what's called, I guess, prize behind them. 3 of them will be pendant dungeons, and pendants aren't really that useful to us because they only unlock 1 check in the Lost Woods, which gives you the Master Sword, as opposed to the other dungeons, which will all be crystal dungeons, and you are required to collect 7 crystals in order to beat the game. And I don't think we've seen a map check from either of these runners, probably because it's not quite relevant right now. It's very early. They're looking to just grab all of the items that they can. But yeah.
I will note that I'm not sure in the standard randomizer, but at least in the archipelago randomizer, they have an option to decide if your goal is going to be requiring those pendants, requiring crystals, and might have a different number of crystals than normal. But we are playing with this in this run. We're playing with a 7 crystal Ganon run. So that means the runners will need to be required to get all 7 crystals and beat 7 dungeons to beat Ganon and beat the game.
Yes, that. Yeah, that's pretty typical. So that's definitely good because I'm familiar with it.
Also decided to go with that because HollowKnight is most likely going to be the longer game, just considering of how much bigger of a game it is and how much longer it is to get to checks. So we want the Link to the Past runners to not be in BK and waiting for checks as much, so give them hopefully more to do.
So yeah, that I've completely lost my train of thought. I'm so sorry. This is a lot to look at. There's 4 runners.
There's 4 runners of randomizer and all over the place, truly. It's definitely big to note that I believe the HollowKnight runners are going sort of different direction.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell where they're trying to go to right now just because you have to play everything so safe. So they're moving pretty slowly, which I totally understand. I would be doing the exact same. But I would imagine right now they're probably trying to get to False Knight, possibly. I think on Mirror's side, they're trying to go towards Salubra and Sly, which is what we saw Ruby do about 5 minutes ago. But it is a little hard to tell just because movement is so slow in the early game when you don't have dash and you don't have much damage either. So the objective is to survive right now.
Survive and find what tools they can to make themselves stronger and live longer.
Absolutely.
You know, we do see Akos navigating the dark room in the sewers under Hyrule Castle right now. We normally do require lamp logic to do rooms like these, but we have allowed the runners to navigate these dark rooms without lamp if they so please, so that is what Akos is doing right now.
Yeah. I believe in there's two different versions of logic for Link to the Past. There's I don't remember what the basic one is called. I think it's just called basic, and there's advanced logic. And what that effectively means is, among other things, it allows runners to go through dark rooms logically if they have the fire rod as well as the lamp, which adds a little bit of extra nuance to when you might decide to go to a dark room or not.
All right, and I'm looking at the items that are coming in. Akko's choice to do that, those sewers without lamp, might pay off for them in the long run, because they have sent heavy blow and quick slash to Miro.
That is true. It is both of those. Heavy blow is kind of a bit of a joke charm, but quick slash is probably one of the best charms in the game. Maybe not right now when you have to be in midair to use your nail because they only have down slash, but certainly once they get another nail direction, it will greatly benefit Mirror.
It is now a good moment for me to jump in quickly.
Yes, absolutely. Go ahead.
All right. I just want to say hello. We have some new folks in chat. You are watching Multithon Rivals 2024. We're raising money for Blue Pass service dogs. And right now we are trying to get to $2,600, where we will unlock some extra archipelago wonder, some archipelago magic with a showcase, a run, I'm not quite sure how we'd explain it, of the archipelago exclusive game Click. So if you are interested in seeing that, and trust me, you are interested because it's really, really cool, this game, exclamation mark donate in chat. That'll take you to Tiltify to get your donations in.
Thank you so much. Yeah, while we were doing that, there were actually 3 pretty major things, which is really cool. So first of all, on Ruby's side, we saw them pick up the Dream Nail, and the Dream Nail is probably, I would say, the first major progression that we've seen so far from either HollowKnight runners. It's not really going to do much now. Oh my goodness, and Tram Pass as well. Tram Pass is going to actually unlock quite a bit because you can use the tram to get to Resting Grounds, which is another really good area, especially once you have Dream Nail, because it allows you to then go ahead and get essence so that you can start working towards the seer rewards. And we see Far moving into the Eastern Palace. We did also see Far pick up the Cane of Samaria just now. Cane of Samaria is a really nice item. It's a little bit weird because it uses up magic, and right now we only have regular magic, so it does use up a decent amount of it, so it's not the best damage, especially once you have the sword, but later in the game it is actually going to allow us to do 2 glitches, which I will explain when they come up, but they're pretty cool. And also Ruby getting the first movement ability that we've seen, which is the Crystal Dash. This is a really fast way of moving around. It's probably not the most easy way to get around since you do have to charge it up, but it is absolutely better than nothing in this early game, so we are going to see Ruby probably C-dashing all over the place once they get a chance.
Well, also good to note that Far has found their own Cane of Samaria, which is a nice tool you can use for both damage and puzzles.
That is true, it does allow you to solve certain puzzles.
With both Hookshot and Cane of Samaria, you might see some interesting things in the future.
Picking up Dream Wielder, interesting.
Also note, because this is being played with Archipelago does have a hint system in the game. Because we have HollowKnight will hint out the items in some of its shops so that players don't have to look for and don't have to memorize where items they see in their shops. It also allows for a hint system at the player's use, where after getting a certain amount of checks in the game, they allow to hint for an item or a certain location to see where an item is, or what is at a certain location. If there's a location a runner does not want to go to and wants to check if they can avoid that location. So I will note that Ruby went to their seer and found that that the moon pearl for far is there, and Akos
Yeah,
also
for only
just did
11
that as well
essence.
on their own. So it is a shame that Akos did use those hint points a bit early to get that item before they got to Seer, which I would find out in hopefully a few more minutes. But so randomizer goes. You have to decide when you want to hint and what you want to hint. Also,
Yeah, and that's very important because there's just so many items in both of these games. I think combined they have about probably 1,200 checks, I want to say, something along those lines.
we get those exact numbers. On an overall, if you like max, if you randomize to the max, yes. But for each of these games, they have around 250 checks and locations to find each. So it's
Yeah.
not too big.
Still a lot of places to go.
So a lot of places to go indeed.
So Ruby is using that C-dash ability to try and go to Glowing Womb. Notably, you do need some form of vertical to get up there, but you can enemy pogo up. I'm not sure if Ruby knows or is willing to, because it is a little difficult. But yeah, seeing them know about that is very understandable. It is also a very long arena, especially when you don't have any spells. It can be pretty dangerous because it's a decently long walk back as well. So I can totally understand them noping out of there real quick.
I will note that Ruby probably tried to go to Glowing Womb because Far did hint for the magic mirror and found that their magic mirror is at Glowing Womb. So that is now that Far has, or they know what the Moon Pearl is, finding the magic mirror is the next item that would be really big for Far to navigate around Link to the Past. They've also hinted for their flute and their gloves, which I can go to their. I can double check which locations those are in.
Yeah, flute and gloves are also very important items. Gloves is a pretty major progression point for Link to the Past, and the same with Mirror. When you have Mirror and Moon Pearl, you're able to navigate at the very least a portion of Dark World. So Dark World in this game is kind of like the big progression point for Link to the Past. You do need a couple of different items to get there, but those items can vary depending on what you found. Like there's a couple different items that will get you into the Dark World. You'll always need the Moon Pearl so that you won't become a bunny when you arrive there. But you could have a combination of the gloves and the hammer. You could have the Titan's mitts. You could have access to Aghanim's tower. There's a lot of different things, and each of them have their own benefits and drawbacks. So deciding to hint gloves and Moon Pearl, and Mirror is a pretty common way of trying to get out of the early game for Link to the Past.
Simply said, those items allow access to the Dark World, which is basically the second half of the map in Link to the Past. You'll note I've checked the hints, so the flute is in the Bumper Cave Ledge in Link to the Past, and one of the gloves for Link to the Past is in Hype Cave.
Interesting. So that actually means that logically Dark World access is going to not require the gloves, I believe, which could indicate that we need to go to Aghanim's tower. Just because gloves are such a big portion of that. Trying to think about what that could mean. That's a little tricky. But as for the flute,
that is one glove. There are two different glove items in Link to the Past. The first one you get will always be the standard gloves, and the second glove item you get will turn your gloves into Titan mitts.
Yeah, I'm just thinking in terms of logic because
hammer that should be Dark World access, I believe, or if they have, no, they would need the.
Yeah, because the second glove is a progressive upgrade, so that means that logically it will always be the Titan's mitts, which means that you will need to have gotten them in that specific order. So that probably means that we're going to have to go to Aghanim's Tower to get into the Dark World. Probably. I'm very likely missing something here, but we'll see.
As they continue on, we will see something come up. I do see that Ruby has just found their Vengeful Spirit.
Oh, that's very nice.
Combat ability for them.
They will actually have a way to do damage without going super close to the enemy this time, which is... Oh, this is an interesting point. They don't have any other form of nails, so they can't break that wall. That's really funny.
Has to turn around and go somewhere else. They do have Tram Pass for those warps. Or just save and quit bench warp, I believe, just happened on Ruby.
Yes, definitely. We did also see Miro start to collect some essence. Notably, we did see Moonpearl was at Seer for only 11 essence, which is pretty much nothing, and you could just get that very quickly by collecting some essence from these dream trees that you see. So I was wondering when the runners would decide to do this, because it's very quick and you could get it right away. So there's 11, which unlocks Moonpearl, which at this point I don't think does anything for the runners because they still need the other items to get into the Dark World. So we will have to see. So we also do see Ruby heading into Green Path here, it looks like. Green Path is... We haven't actually seen the runners enter like another large open area yet. We have seen Resting Grounds, which is a really nice place for getting items, but unfortunately there's only about, I think, maybe 9 or 10 checks there total, whereas Green Path is enormous, and it's the first major area of the game other than the Crossroads, so it's a really, really nice way of getting a whole bunch of items really, really quick, because they're very condensed, they're very fast.
Let me see now. Far has just gone through the sewers as well to find that quick slash for Ruby, which again is not useful yet, but will be useful in the future. We do see Akos going into Aghanim's Tower.
There we go.
So that might be the logical way in.
I would imagine so, yeah. Aghanim's Tower requires either the Master Sword or the Cape, logically. So yeah, this is as soon as Miro gets that Moonpearl, which should be right now, actually. It should, yeah, there we go. Give Akos a couple more things to do and hopefully get them that little bit closer to both the flute, which does actually only require the cape because it's in Bumper Cave, and the gloves that we found in Hype Cave.
Again, we do see Akos now going through the dark rooms in Aghanim's Tower, using their knowledge of the game to navigate the room without any source of fire and light, and using their sword and the noises of the... You might hear now on stream, Akos using the noises of where the sword hits the wall to figure out where they are exactly in the room.
It is very funny to watch Darkroom navigation when they don't have a sword, because you'll just kind of see them running around, bonking into walls to try and figure out where you are. You can use like the boomerang or the hook shot, but even then it's tricky because you have to be positioned just a little bit away from the wall to get the little tink. And we see Miro here also heading into Green Path. I did notice Ruby was having a little bit of trouble because you need to break these vines in order to get the platforms down. But you can't do that if you don't have another direction for your nail, which is really silly, but it happens.
I do want to note two things I see now happened on for Ruby and Far's side. I saw that with the glove hint for the second glove has gone out, and it is at King's Brand. But also the hammer has just been found in Green Path, so we might see Miro find that hammer as well coming up soon.
Yeah, and the hammer is going to be a really good way of... That's actually going to logically give Arcos the flute. Not the flute, sorry, the gloves, because if you have Dark World access and the hammer, you are able to get into Hype Cave. And I did also realize something. Arcos doesn't have the lamp, which means that they don't logically have Dark World access yet, but they're still opting to do Aghanim's Tower in the Dark, which is quite difficult, I will say. It's probably one of the more difficult areas in the game to do in the dark. So it's really interesting that he's opting to do it here. But it is very impressive, even though you can't see much of it, unfortunately.
Yes, it is definitely a risky move they're taking now to try to go through Aghanim's Tower to get the Dark World access early, especially because they have not hinted for their gloves yet and do not know where they are, so...
Oh, that's true, because only the other team hinted.
Yes.
And there's the hammer as well.
Our and Ruby have hinted for both their gloves, whereas Akos has not hinted for any of them yet. Probably saving the hints, hopefully something else. Oh, and...
Oh, the boots can be found near Sparks, was that? I think I
I
read?
believe that they're Sparks, yes. There are some in-game hints within Link to the Past in, mostly I believe, dungeons. Those nice areas there. We see Akos using their Quake, that I believe it was Quake Grass, or that
Bombos.
Bombos, using a Bombos medallion to help clear out the rooms, make it easier for them to navigate.
So I think Far is about to pick something up here. We saw them farming for a bunch of money, so they got up to 500, and the only thing that costs 500 in this game is the flippers, so I'm imagining something here is going to be good. Okay. Mask Shard, interesting.
Simple Mask Shard. Might be regretting it, but we'll see. He's probably pausing now to figure out where to go next. Possibly have to hit items.
But Arcos doing Aghanim's Tower in the Dark is actually gonna give Mira and Arcos a pretty big advantage, I would say. Having Dark World access so quickly is gonna unlock a lot of different locations for them at the cost of having to do Aghanim's Tower in the Dark. But yeah, that's actually gonna be pretty huge. Although I think this is interesting because I would say that Ruby is in the lead for HollowKnight, but Arcos is in the lead for Link to the Past. So it's a little hard to tell because now the runners have just completely diverged and I don't know what they're planning on anymore.
Yes, because Far, I'll say that Ruby got to Seer first, so that saw the hint for Magic for Maroon Pearl first, without hinting it themselves. And so I'll say that Ruby and Far are operating on more knowledge and using their hints liberally to get knowledge and find what they need. So they're acting off of that. Where Akos at least is operating on, okay, I have Moon Pearl, is making a decision. Let's go do Aga and see what I can get.
Oh, and Far making the Aga play as well. Very interesting.
Very good. Let's see how easily it is for Far to make through.
Not going to be very easy with just the fighter sword, unfortunately. These guys are so tanky. They take like a billion hits to kill. So they're really quite annoying. I do see
combat. Far and Akos are equal, if not almost equal at this point. They have hammer and hookshot. They have cape if they want to use it. They have cape, basic sword, basic shield, basic mail. They do have bombos to help them out for some big clears they need. Hookshot, bow, even boomerang if they're going to use boomerang, but I know boomerang truly isn't that good. At least the blue boomerang.
Oh, unfortunate death right outside of Hype Cave. Oh, never mind. Fairy, we're all good.
Fairy save. All right. As you said, it's area called Hype Cave, probably because of randomizer and all the checks.
That is true. That is true.
If it actually has anything useful. All right, as we did know, there is a glove.
The gloves, yeah, there we go.
They did not know, if I'm correct.
Yeah, I think he said. Oh wow, okay. Yeah, Hype Cave really living up to its name. That's huge.
Hype Cave. It had a piece of heart, one of these progressive gloves, some boss Geo for Miro, the big key to Misery Mire, and the fire rod. All items that'll be very essential for Akos to finish their run.
Speaking of hype, can I jump in with a couple of donations?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So we've had a couple of donations come in as we've been seeing this incredible gameplay. First, $5 from Mize, who says, Hop as a nerd. And then $10 from Anonymous, going to, of course, Blue Pass Service Dog, saying, what is a click? I want to see it. I want to see it too. We are now less than $60 away from getting that bonus showcase of Click at the end of this Archipelago run. So keep getting your donations in.
I will know. You should absolutely call out once we do hit the amount raised for that Click, so I can have it prepared ahead of time and know to get it ready. Go back.
Yeah, right back to it.
Is going through Dark Cave, Dark Ruins, and Agas. Now Ruby is back in Green Path. I'm not sure. Mira's also going back to Green Path, looks like. And Akos is using their newfound Dark World access to see what they can get ahead of time.
20 rupees, apparently.
20 rupees from Digging Game.
It's always really funny to find rupees at Digging Game because you get rupees from there, like, as part of the game, and then you find rupees and it's actually the prize and you're just super disappointed.
So now, Akos now has a lot of tools to use to navigate this game. So they notably do not have their Moon Pearl. No, they do have Moon Pearl.
They do have Moon Pearl, yeah.
But now they have Hammer and Glove, so they can easily get to and from Dark World in many locations. They're still need to get the Magic Mirror, which they have not hinted yet, for access to certain locations as well. We just found Ice Rod.
Ice Rod, interesting. That's a pseudo-required item. It's only required if Turtle Rock is a pendant dungeon. Is a crystal dungeon. My apologies, because the only actual required use of Ice Rod in the game is to kill Trinax.
Could take a look into our spoiler log first and see what is there. No, the bosses for these dungeons have not been randomized, so that is a setting that you can turn for Link to the Past, where you randomize what boss is in each dungeon. But we have
it's real goofy.
Bosses. Yes, as we saw in the A Link to the Past run I was a part of last night, where randomized bosses where you can get some funky stuff. Like what we had, I think off the top of my head is Helmasaur was on top of Tower of Hera for one player, and that had some funny visual glitches. We had a one-eyed Moldorm showed up, and we discussed the fact that you can have an 8-eyed Moldorm in the randomizer, which is just funny to see.
So actually, notably, there's the flute, but also Miro picking up Mantis Claw in his own world as well. And Mantis Claw is going to utterly unlock pretty much like almost the rest of the game. It's the most useful item for movement in HollowKnight because it allows you to just go so many places. So that's going to be incredibly useful. And then getting the flute there to give Akos some fast travel.
So I will say at the start of this run, it did look like Ruby and Far in the lead. With all the items now that Akos and Mira have had, especially with that early Dark World dip, getting it out of logic, they definitely have pulled ahead now in terms of items and accessibility.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I just want to jump in real quick to say we have hit that $2,600. So we're going to get that Click showcase. Thank you all so much for your generosity. Back to our commentary.
I will make sure we have Click set up and ready to switch to quickly on stream. Ruby is back at Green Path now, hopefully to find that Mantis Claw. They just get the stag, which was the Ice Rod. So they keep going. They should, to the Hollow Nest Seal, they should find that Mantis Claw.
Taking an unfortunate death to Hornet, which shouldn't be too consequential since there's a bench right there. And we do see Far also using the hookshot to navigate the dark room. I believe this is the final room that's in the dark of Aghanim's Tower. If I'm correct in which room I think Far is in, which is hard to tell, but we will see. Both runners in Hornet, both, wow, okay, synchronized screens all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Double Hornet and double Dark Room.
We have something to read from our host.
Yeah, absolutely. We, of course, got that donation that pushed us over that amount needed to get that milestone. Zokobun with $60 to Blue Path Service Dogs saying, bonus run? For charity? For dogs? I love a good deal. Sign me up. Smiley face. Thank you so much for getting us there. And of course, that now means we are trying to get to unlock that bonus run after this. More Final Fantasy XIV fishing. We need to get to $2,750 to get that unlocked. And so let's keep going, chat. We've got some time still in this run, but we are speedrunning. Things are going to go fast. So !donate, get your donations in. Let's see that Final Fantasy XIV fishing bonus showcase.
So Far taking an unfortunate death in pretty much the end of Aghanim's Tower, which always sucks because it takes so long to go through.
Well, this is interesting because Ruby did go and beat Hornet there in Green Path and got that Mothwing Cloak, which actually ended up just being a grub. But they did miss the Mantis Claw at the Hollowness Seal there.
I think the Mantis Claw is actually in this room that Ruby's in right now, like just below, like directly below Ruby.
There.
Yeah, I think it's that. Yeah, yep, I'm pretty sure it is.
All right. This is me showing my lack of certain knowledge of these games.
Oh, no. You're all good.
I'm just watching the order of items they're coming and seeing. Oh yes, they got this item and then this item, so logically the other player would also get this item and this item.
Whoa, we have a blue Decidui.
A blue Decidui. I don't believe that's the normal. That might be the normal shiny color of Decidui.
I have no idea. Is it red?
Look you up.
I think Hisuian Decidui is red, but I don't remember.
Yeah, I know Hisuian Decidui is red. But is normal Decidui the shiny one? Yes, the shiny version is this darker, bluer hood and shoulder pads.
That's
with
cool.
A blacker cloak.
I really like that, actually. It's really pretty. But Arcos did pick up the blue mail, which is the upgraded armor system of this game, which is also progressive. It will give you the blue mail and then the red mail. And that just mitigates a lot of damage for Link to the Past runners, because some enemies in this game do a lot of damage. It's real scary, especially in the late game. I think Ganon with green mail does contact damage equal to 7 hearts, which means that at the normal amount of hearts that you have in a speedrun, you can take 2 hits, which sucks. Having a little bit of trouble with Aghanim's Tower and noping out there. I do think that if you're having a lot of trouble with a dungeon, quitting out there is very understandable. And also not to mention that by skipping, even though doing the dark room here ended up being a really good choice, it does mean that they're leaving behind the lamp somewhere, and it might be a little harder to find later unless they use a hint. I'm imagining the reason why we haven't found it yet is because the lamp is somewhere in Ruby's world, but it's really quite hard to say.
Yeah.
I don't think the lamp is required to beat the game, but it's definitely a lot nicer.
It might be required based on where items are located, and if they're really if they're expected to go into Aga 1, then it would be...
It would be required if Aghanim 1 was logical, but that does mean that if Arcos feels like it, he can complete the game without Lamp. But then again, it's risky. It's not very easy. It's also not super fun as a runner, I would say, to bonk into walls repeatedly for 20 minutes.
Just a small anecdote to help me prepare for the Click showcase. Can I just get a color from either a host or my fellow commentator? Just a general color.
I'm a little biased. I mean, I'm Violet, so...
Violet. Okay.
I'm also biased that way too. Violet or purple is fantastic.
All right. We will go with purple for use in our Click showcase. We will know what that means when it's time for the showcase later.
I am wondering at this point where the dash might be. Just like, it's not only a really good way of getting around for HollowKnight, but it is actually a form of access for a lot of places, just because you need like a horizontal boost to get over certain gaps. So I am curious to see whether either of the runners have hinted it at all, but I don't have access to the hint system. I think I set it up wrong.
Should have, if you have, I believe you do have access to their rooms, and you can, from there, you can look at the hints for the players.
Yeah, my Archipelago text client crashed, unfortunately.
Oh, no. Yeah, you should be able to look at that on the web.
On the website?
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe that was Akko's just performed some form of fake flippers.
Ooh, water walk. That's a combination of two different glitches. The first glitch is fake flippers, which in this game, in order to swim, you need an item called the flippers. However, if you do certain things to delete the fact that the splash animation appears, and you can do that a couple different ways. The most common is to transition the screen. The game actually doesn't check whether you have the flippers, and it just puts you in the swimming animation, which is really nice. And then on top of that, there's a certain room very close to the water called the Waterfall Fairy Cave, where for some reason, if you exit the cave and you don't have flippers, but you do have the Moon Pearl, the game will just give you this state called Water Walk, which allows you to walk on water, specifically deep water, like the very dark blue that you see, not the light blue. You can already stand on that by default. I'm actually not quite sure why that happens. That this game eludes me in certain areas, and that is one of them. But it is a very useful glitch because it allows you to get to certain places that you wouldn't normally be able to, and also it allows you to get to King Zora a little bit faster.
We do see that Far has hunting Aghanim's tower. Also on the off-screen side, which you can't not see, Akos has gone ahead and hinted their second glove, so they do know where that is now.
Yeah, I would imagine that the insistence on trying to do Aga, even though you don't have the lamp, is based on the fact that Far's run out of Light World things to do, and also the fact that the hints that have been given are mostly related to things in the Dark World. So the lamp, whether or not they've hinted it, I'm not sure, but if they have and it's in a really yucky location, then I can totally understand the insistence on it. But I'm not 100% sure what goes on in the minds of these archipelagoers. And we see Mirror making a play for Deep Nest as well, which is really interesting. Deep Nest is also a really big area with a lot of different checks there, but it is a little scary because it's semi-late game, so a lot of the enemies take a lot of hits to kill. But once you have a form of vertical, it's actually very easy to get in there, so the Mantis Claw is going to do some good.
It's interesting to note that you said that Mirror's going to Deep Nest because Ruby now is looking at their hints and what they have available and where they can go. they have hinted for their monarch wings, which are indeed in Deep Nest.
Ah, okay. That makes a lot of sense.
There are also a lot of items in Ruby's world in Shop and Out, so probably deciding which items they might need to possibly grind for, or just in general get grubs or such. There's also a hint for Isma's Tear by Ruby. I don't remember exactly
Interesting.
what that item does.
So that allows you to swim in acid, like the green water looking thing. It is also a form of access for a couple areas, although it's only allows you to access a couple different ones. But I think at this point in the game, where you're still looking for ways to get to basically the second half of the map, where like City is and Kingdom's Edge are, it's a pretty decent thing to hint for.
Did know Akos with that Dark World access with both glove and hammer has gone into their Skull
Woods.
And Miro has just found their Dash Master in Deep Nest as well.
Dash Master with no dash. So sad.
They are actually two different items. That is a shame. What is the actual name of their dash item then?
The Mothwing Cloak.
Oh, Mothwing Cloak is their dash. Oh.
Yes.
So both Dash Master and the Cloak, which is the dash, are in Deep Nest then.
Yeah, that actually does make a lot of sense. Typically after Green Path and that like early area, like Crossroads, Green Path, Fungal are kind of like the three early game areas of this game. Once you've found enough items there, it kind of becomes a gamble depending on what items you have to either go to Deep Nest or City of Tears, or maybe if you have a stag somewhere, it might be worth going to like wherever the stag is. So Deep Nest having a lot of items is actually pretty common. So finding, I think you said Monarch Wings was there, and now we know that Dash is there, so it'll be interesting to see who gets there first, and if either of them miss it or decide to leave.
It's certainly been interesting with that both teams have been taking very different approaches with Ruby and Far trying to optimize their hints and plan out where they're going, whereas Akos and Mirror are making risky plays without using their hints yet, which are so far have paid off for them.
Intentional death on Arcos' side. Once you get to that very isolated chest, there's not really an easy way to get out if you don't have the mirror. And taking a death in this game when you're in a dungeon just puts you at the beginning, doesn't lose anything, and just gives you back a certain amount of hearts with an algorithm that is very hard to explain, and I will not go into it. But it'll give you some hearts back, which is actually a really nice way of healing, funnily enough. Oh, that's actually really smart. Using the spin to knock the mummy into the spikes to kill it. Oh, and Far's made it to the top of Aghanim's Tower. That's fantastic. He made it past that slightly more difficult room that they were unable to make it past just before. And here we see the first boss of the game.
Mothula, who is...
Yes.
As we've talked with many like the past runners, in Skullwood, the boss is the room, not Mothula.
That's true.
Because if you put Mothula in literally any other room, they are much simpler to fight.
Mothula would be a complete joke if it was not for this room. There's a very funny interaction that goes on where Mothula is coded to take no damage from spikes because there's so many spikes moving around. However, if you hit the spikes, if you hit Mothula into the spikes, it overwrites the damage that you do to it with the damage from the spikes, which is 0. So it ends up doing no damage, which is really, really mean, and it makes the boss way harder than it should be.
That is truly unfortunate. I will note the rewards that Akos did get from Mothula were a red pendant and the elevator pass for Miro.
Elevator Pass is actually pretty big. It does give you access to the City of Tears in a slightly more ergonomic way, as opposed to this current way that Miro is trying to make it, I assume, into City, which is via the tram and then climbing up very, very slowly. So I'm guessing that maybe he's gonna warp. Yeah. He's gonna warp out to take the Elevator Pass access instead.
Making immediate use of those items they're receiving, taking a nice dip in this water to refill their focus. And we see now Far.
Taking a little bath.
See now Far's fighting Aghanim. Get that audio switched hopefully in time to hear that fight.
I am actually wondering whether maybe we haven't seen a map check from these runners at all, so I'm curious whether it might be a product of Key Sanity's format in that you must find the map in order to find out what the boss prize is.
I believe the runners started with their maps, and I think Akos might have checked at some point. I don't remember exactly. Let me just easily check that.
Aw, Hornet's bunny sprite is so cute.
Okay, so runners started with the compass, which I believe tells them what reward is in each dungeon.
Okay, interesting. They may have some other way of knowing that I don't know what it is, but... So I believe Far and Ruby do know where the Moon Pearl is. I am curious to see when Ruby is going to grab it for Far.
Yes, they have known from very early on where that Moon Pearl is. I guess they're waiting for the Moon Pearl to immediately be useful, not just have the Moon Pearl just to have it, or maybe they're getting it right now. They do find that Desolate Dive.
Yeah, Salubra's shop is a little bit unique in that certain items require you to have an X amount of charms, where the X amount of charms is randomized as well. That's like a byproduct of the original game in that she sells certain things to you once you have enough charms, just because she's like a charm vendor, she's a charm lady. I'm not quite sure what Ruby is. I know that Ruby is trying to get to Resting Grounds, but I'm pretty sure maybe Ruby forgot to get the bench there. You should just get a bench swap there, but I think maybe opting to grab the check along the way that's underneath. There's a couple checks around here. There's one above Ruby, and there'll be one in the next room, so...
We'll know.
And we see Miro heading into Right Side City.
We'll know Akos, if they did play the chess game and found the King Fragment for Miro.
Ooh. I'm actually not sure what the goal is for HollowKnight. Typically it's true ending, but I wasn't sure whether that is the case for this archipelago.
Don't believe we've set it to true ending just for the sake of time. Let me quickly double check that. Oh, we do have a goal of true ending. Just to spoil it, of the name of Radiant, if I'm correct there. Yes, that is true ending. So they are actually going for a full true ending goal on HollowKnight and a 7 crystal Ganon on Link to the Past.
That makes sense. Yeah, I can only imagine Ruby and Fire have maybe forgotten about that Moon Pearl or something like that. Because Ruby is... Oh, maybe Ruby is going towards cliffs to go and kill Gorb to get some essence. That might make some sense.
Could be get some essence to be able to get all those checks in the shops. Ruby did just find their Shape of Un, which is a charm, I believe.
Yes, it's the snail charm. It turns you into a snail, which is really important.
Ah, yes. Very important. Becoming a snail.
There is a category called Pure Snail, where you collect a couple charms to turn yourself into a really cool looking snail. It's very cool.
Well, I see Akos is in Palace of Darkness, and Far is going to Palace of Darkness now as well.
Yeah,
is
Palace of Darkness would be one of the first areas that I would consider going to in Dark World. It's got quite a lot of items. There's 14 chests as you can see there. I believe in this version, it would be 5 plus 1 are guaranteed to be non-dungeon items, which is a lot.
Yes, the runners have their compass already, which is, I guess, removed from the pool. And we know that the big keys are randomized, but they do have the small keys are all, at least inside their own dungeon.
Okay, then it'll be 5 plus 2, because I forgot about the compass.
Yes.
So it'll be 7 items, actually. It will be non-keys, which is one of the most of any dungeon in the game, other than Ganon's Tower, which you will very rarely go into without already being in go mode.
I do see that Far has abandoned going into Pod for now and probably looking over their map, what they have accessible, and seeing where else they should go. I don't believe they've gone to get their glove yet, which they should have access to now in
No, they actually don't have access to it because they need the moon pearl in order to break the hammer pegs.
Oh, right.
So Ruby's gonna sit on this bench here and probably get what's that Oro here and Mato here, and then probably go straight to resting. Yeah, there we go. Grabbing that moon pearl.
Guessing Far is waiting to do some fake flippers of some form once they have that moon pearl.
Probably just waiting to grab the moon pearl so that they can go and grab the gloves, I would imagine. Oh, Kingsbrand. Interesting.
Kingsbrand from that shop there, from the seer.
There we go. Hornet is no longer void.
Oh yes, I forgot about the whole thing about when you are in Dark World about Moon Pearl, you are a bunny.
Yes.
So I guess with
yeah, and each of the different sprites have like a special bunny sprite. It's really cute.
We did not get to see the bunny Sidui unless they happen if they get hit by an anti-fair, if I believe so.
I don't actually know what they're called, but they're like yellow swirly things.
Yeah,
the red ones that are currently on the screen are anti-fairies, because when you put the magic powder on them, they become fairies.
That's what I'm thinking of, yeah.
Well, actually, the yellow things also do become fairies, but I don't know what they're called.
I do not know either. That's a King Station stag.
Ooh, okay. So they don't have elevator pass, which is actually going to be a way for Ruby to get into Right Side City. And Right Side City gives you access to a whole myriad of things. It gives you access to Ancient Basin, the Watcher Knights, it gives you access to Left Side City. If you have Swim, it gives you access to Kingdom's Edge. And Shaman Stone as well. That's probably the best charm in the game, I would say. It increases the damage of all of your spells, and it just makes fighting like so much easier because you do way more damage to them than what you would normally do with your nail. So that's really good. And it was for 0 notches as well. Ruby having to pogo the flames in order to what's it called? Summon the Grim Troop.
Mira was going there to turn in their grubs and just finding so far just great slash with for useful items. Ruby does Far now with actual Dark World access and that Fire Rod might go into Skull Woods and get that elevator pass for Ruby, even though it is a pendant dungeon. We'll see if they decide to do that.
Marcos is in another dark room. Okay. Palace of Darkness. I was curious which one he was in because I forgot what dungeon he was in. But that's one of the big dark rooms in Palace of Darkness. That one's actually not as hard to navigate as the other ones, but it's very important.
We do have a hint from the lamp now from Far. Finding in Watcher's Spire.
Oh, okay. So Watcher's Spire is behind the Watcher Knights, and that does require the Mantis Claw. and likely some form of damage, which Ruby may or may not feel comfortable doing. I'm not quite sure. But it is they're one of the more difficult bosses in the game, and if it's just for the lamp, I guess this is kind of a difficult trade-off to make, whether it's worth going out of Ruby's way to go and get that lamp and have to fight one of the harder bosses in the game, whereas if Far really, really needs the lamp at all. So it's hard to say at this point.
They do have, both runners do have Fire Rod. So it's a question of, do they need the lamp for the vision if they already have a fire source in Fire Rod?
Exactly. There are a couple rooms in the game that logically do still require the lamp. Notably, I think Misery Maya still requires the lamp, no matter what. But obviously, it's not required, it's just logical.
We do see a hint now for Akos for that magic mirror and seeing that it is in Glowing Womb. So see that mirror was sitting and probably planning out, figuring out where they can go next with what they have.
Yeah, and Ruby's about to grab that mirror for Far as well. Yeah, as I was mentioning before, Glowing Room is really quite a difficult arena to do, especially when you only have down slash and one spell. It can be really scary because you know how it is when there's an enemy that charges up a really long attack. The only thing you want to do is jump right into that attack. But there is that mirror.
Yeah, we do see Akos now in Dark World Death Mountain. So they're going through this spike bumper here, which I believe was a hinted item, if I'm correct. Exactly, looks like they didn't have enough magic to get through.
Yeah, you need a certain amount of magic or healing items to get through there, because otherwise you'll just die before you can make it to the chest, and unfortunately not quite enough there. You need quite a significant amount, so...
They might try going into Turtle Rock now, because they do have both Quake and Bombos.
That is true.
In the settings that we're using for tonight, I do believe we have randomized the medallion they need to get into Misery Mire and Turtle Rock. I can check that quickly.
Typically it is. I'm not sure about this archipelago, of course. But both Turtle Rock and Misery Mire do require one of the pendants to get into, which is those like yellow, not a pendant, sorry, a medallion. It's one of the yellow things that we saw Arcos using as a damage tool earlier in the game, actually.
We won't be checking what is at the Turtle Rock yet. Then we do see Far getting their own flute. More allows them to get around more now. Get map more.
Akko's actually doing something pretty interesting that I actually didn't think of until I saw them do it just now. But what he's doing is he's buying out green potions to refill his magic so that he can get through Spike Cave without dying. Oh, unfortunate death on Mirror's side. Again, long arena, very difficult, especially when you don't have much damage and no other nail direct. Like, we're an hour in and the HollowKnight runners still don't have a different nail direction, which it doesn't feel like much when I say it, but you really, really feel it when you're running this game and you don't have another nail direction.
It fundamentally changes how you can do combat. We can only attack in a single direction.
Exactly. And when you're attacking in that direction, you have to be in the air and it bounces you up a little bit. So it's just all the more punishing.
Akos.
Oh no. I think he
not
probably
enough
thought he
progress.
could make it, but unfortunately just misjudged it a little bit.
We do see Far now in Thieves Town. Seeing what it's possible, seeing what's in there.
Thieves Town is a really good play. it's one of the dungeons that has, again, a lot of items, but doesn't require a lot of things to go into. You can actually beat Thieves Town's boss with either just the sword or the hammer or the cane of samurai. There's a bunch of items that damage blind. It does mean that if you don't enter with the hammer, you're not going to be able to collect all of the items, but it has a lot of items, it doesn't require much, and the requirement that is required, Far already has, so it's a really good play.
As far as plenty of tools to navigate through Thieves Town. So you're opting to not actually finish it yet?
And they're not doing it. Fair enough.
We do see now, though, Miro has just sent Magic Mirror to Akos, which will open up some more for them. Especially after they finish this spike cave.
The enemy got stuck in the door. That's funny. Okay, Arco's given Spike Cave another try. Oh, and I actually didn't realize this until now. Mirror has Mothwing Cloak. I don't know when he got that. But major movement item, speeds everything up by just so much. And it just makes movement feel a lot better. Ah, so there's the dive, yeah. Dive is a very important ability. It's one of 3 spells, so it does do damage, but also that spell has a secondary usage, which is it can break floors, certain floors, which then allows you to access a whole bunch of different areas. There's some areas in Kingdom's Edge, there's some areas in Resting Grounds that require dive, so it is a major progressive item.
Do see Far up on Death Mountain now, possibly going to Turtle Rock themselves.
Yeah, possibly. Either Turtle Rock or Tower of Hera, I would imagine. Tower of Hera is a relatively quick dungeon that you can also do a glitch to get up to the top of with the items that Arcos has. And Turtle Rock is also... I probably wouldn't do it myself right now, but... No, actually, no, I might do it. It's hard to say. Turtle Rock is a really difficult dungeon, but it has so many items that you can usually justify going to it most of the time. Fighting those Trumal ogres is very funny when you only have a pogo.
You see Akos up at here as well now.
Yeah, there we go. Wonder if he's going to do Herapot. If he does, it'll be in about 10 seconds after he picks up this item.
Nero's players have Lamp, but they do have Fire Rod. I mean, they are able to full clear the dungeon.
Tower of Hera, you can't... Yeah, you need a fire source. I forgot.
They do have...
Oh, a nice bomb jump from Far.
Fire Rod. Akos did find Mothwing Cloak and Tower of Hera just then. Though did we say that Mirror already had it, or it seemed that they did?
Mirror already has the Mothwing Cloak, yeah. I'm not quite sure where he got it, but I think we said it was in Deep Nest somewhere.
They have... What was it we said was in Deep Nest?
Monarch Wings and Mothwing Cloak.
Monarch Wings. Not Mothwing Cloak. 2 different items.
And Far also heading into Tower of Hera. Again, relatively short dungeon. There is one check at the very bottom, which takes a lot of time. Oh, that's really cute. That's a modded version that changes the tiles to show like a little :3 face. I haven't seen that before.
That's so good.
But yeah, that's the longest item to get. Wow, the map of Thieves Town. So useful.
So useful, truly.
So I wonder if I'm gonna see Herapot here.
Question is, do the runners have the big key for Tower of Hera?
Oh, yeah, that is a good point. Let me see here. We're looking at Arcos. They do not. This is an interesting play because Tower of Hera is a dungeon that if you do Herapot, you actually don't need the big key to go and beat the boss. But if you don't have the big key, you can't get what's in the big chest. So do you do it now and then come back later when you do have the big key? Or do you wait until you do have the big key so that you can full clear it and not have to come back? I think we are seeing Arco maybe... Yeah, Arcos is going to go Herapot here, I think. Just going to wait and see before I explain it.
They're debating Herapot, also looking at possible options of where else to go.
Possibly, yeah.
Are they looking at their text client?
I think Far is going to go ahead and do it right away, actually. What you need to do here is if you look at Far's screen, Far's going to put down a bomb in a very specific position, back up into the bomb explosion, and what that will do is it'll clip you into the pot halfway, and then you can use the hook shot to clip fully into the pot, fall into the pot, and then it just so happens that that pot has a warp that puts you at the very top of the dungeon. So it skips 90% of the dungeon.
Yeah, so it looks like Oculus are just making sure they have their setup correctly for this Herapot.
Probably, yeah.
They will both be going for it, or maybe not.
Looks like Far ran out of bombs and accidentally messed up the setup, unfortunately. It is pixel perfect, so it is very precise. I think this is the correct setup. Yes, that's it. Clip in. Oh no, you need to hold left. Oh no.
Oh no.
Arcos is stuck. It is a pretty niche glitch, I would say. Like, it only comes up every now and again, not every run. So I can absolutely understand not like feeling comfortable doing it. But yeah, that's unfortunate. Neither runner's getting it. But again, they don't have the big key, so we might see them come back to it later.
While our runners are heading off to some new locations now, a good time for a quick announcement?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so chat, as you can see, we are a little over an hour into this run, which means we don't have a whole lot of time to unlock that final bonus showcase of Final Fantasy XIV Professional Fishing. If you saw the showcase earlier, that was some new people learning how to fish. This time the pros are going to be doing it, and they're going to be going after the difficult fish, the legends, the really cool stuff that you're going to want to see. This is not safe fishing. This is extreme fishing, and we need to see that. I want to see it. So if you want to see some extreme fishing in Final Fantasy XIV, ! Donate in chat. We'll take you to Tiltify. We need to hit $2,750 to get that unlocked. We're about $150 away, but I believe in you. I know we can get there before this archipelago run finishes.
Do you really want my run? You want me to beat the last run of this event, or do you want it to be more fishing? I know what I would say.
Hooray! Arcos got Herapot.
Lovely. We do see now Mira is fighting the Mantis Lords.
You know what they say? It's not a real game if it doesn't have a fishing mini game in it.
You said it, not me. Although I don't believe either of these games have a fishing mini game.
No, it would make them into an instant 10 out of 10.
Does feeding the catfish in Link to the Past count as a fishing mini game?
You do talk to a fish, so like that's pretty. You talk to several fish actually. You talk to King Zora. I mean, you can kill the Zora. That's like kind of fishing. Unfortunately, HollowKnight does not have any fish in the game, so I am gonna have to dock some points.
That is a shame. I do see a lot of hints coming up on Far and Ruby's side. See a hint for Pegasus boots, flippers for those monarch wings, white fragment, which I guess is the queen fragment, the void heart, and the king fragment. They're just a nice quality of life thing that has been set up in Archipelago, where you can hint for that item of the white fragment. It will give you supposedly the closest item for you to get. So all three of those have been hinted or found. for Ruby now, and I believe those are required to beat the game.
Yes, to beat the game. That's why I was curious about the goal earlier. For true ending, the requirements are actually quite a bit more. Normally, to beat the game, you just need 3 dreamers in order to get into the black egg. Whereas for true ending, you require those 3 dreamers plus 3 white fragments, the king fragment, the queen fragment, and the void heart, and then you need a dream nail on top of that.
Right, so Ruby does have, I believe, 3 of those so far: the dream nail, the king fragment, and 1 of the dreamers. So it needs the 2 remaining white fragments and the 2 other dreamers.
Yes.
Are going through Spike Cave as well.
Yeah, grabbing that Desolate Dive, which is going to give Ruby a couple more options.
We did manage to also see Akos did finish Tower of Hair and found the crystal that was on top of there. That is 1 crystal towards their goal.
Yeah, I'm wondering whether Akos and Miro are starting to not have to worry about items anymore and just start like going for things. I can tell you that Arcos, based on the items that Arcos has, I think he's pretty close to go mode. I don't know like what which dungeons have crystals and which dungeons have pendants, but in terms of required items, the only thing that he's missing is technically the lamp, I suppose, and also depending on whether Ice Palace is in logic, he will need the flippers. And then he needs a second glove. So he's getting pretty close. There's the Monarch Wings for Ruby. But I think the hesitation there is just because, like, HollowKnight has so many different items, and also the locations of those items can vary in a lot more different ways than Link to the Past can. It's a lot less consistent of a randomizer. So as a result, they're probably waiting a little bit to find out, like, play it by ear, see what's going to happen with HollowKnight, and then maybe we'll start rushing towards the end goal.
So there's Far talking to the cat, getting Howling Wraiths.
Howling Wraiths, yeah. Another spell, it's an upward spell this time. I would dare say that that is actually very useful because, again, we only have down slash, so that's going to give them damage for anything that is above them, which is greatly needed. And we do see Ruby heading into Kingdom's Edge here. This is... I think Miro and Ruby are almost doing the same thing. They've both kind of been following each other and doing very similar paths, which is quite interesting, just because HollowKnight is so non-linear. So really interesting to see. And as I say that, I think Miro has left and gone to do something else, so never mind.
As it goes, it is very interesting to see, especially in a race like this, where the runners are doing mostly different things at different times, just to see what works out. We do see him seeing some more hints from both sides. Miro hinted their Monarch Wing, which is probably why they warped to go get that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Or has hinted their Book of Medora, probably to get into Desert Palace and get those few altar locations.
Yeah, Book of Medora is interesting. It does get you into Desert Palace. Especially, it's one of 2 ways to get into Desert Palace, but I think the other thing that maybe Far is interested in is the fact that the Book of Medora allows you to preview the Master Sword. And what is on the Master Sword pedestal is locked behind all 3 pendants, which is 3 whole extra dungeons that you don't want to normally be doing. So maybe we're trying to cover off all bases here. Especially since Far is in the Dark World location of the Dark World corresponding location of where the sword pedestal is. So maybe we're trying to figure it out. See where it's best to go.
So Far in Skull Woods, it's very interesting to see if Far does clear Skullwood, since we do know it is a pendant dungeon, But
Yeah, and I don't think there
elevator
was...
path.
It did have elevator pass, that's right. I was wondering, because I couldn't quite remember whether there was anything useful in there.
Yeah, elevator pass has not been hinted for Ruby and Far, so they don't know that's there. So we'll see just how far goes into Skullwoods.
Yeah, it is interesting though, because I think at this point, Ruby doesn't really need elevator pass. Elevator pass is more of a relevant ability when you're very early game and you're looking for ways to get into city. But Ruby already has, I don't know if Ruby has wings or not, but definitely, yeah, has wings, has claw, so full vertical. So they probably don't need elevator pass.
Wings, his claw, his cloak.
And C dash.
Almost every movement ability, I think, at this point, really just looking for combat.
Yeah, we're just, the only movement ability that we're missing is Shade Cloak, which is not super required. It allows you to go through Shade Gates and it gives you invulnerability on your dash. So I'd imagine at this point we're looking for True Ending, definitely a bit more damage because we still only have one nail direction.
Well, there has been a hint for flippers on Akos' side. We have found that those are in Descending Dark.
Oh, okay. That's a pretty out of the way location. It's semi out of the way. Neither of the HollowKnight runners have been to Crystal Peak yet, which is a pretty, it's like a mid-game area with quite a lot of items in there. So I am curious to see when they're going to make that play, especially since now that we know the flippers are there, which may or may not be required. Notably, I think Mirror actually has full movement at this point, including the Shade Cloak, which I just mentioned. So yeah, I would imagine the same thing applies here. We're just looking for damage. We're looking for True Ending, most likely.
So need those. At this point, the runners, most of the items in terms of actual traversal have been found by both teams for both games. So it's more so narrowing it down and saying, okay, where exactly do we need to go to get the items to finish the game?
Yeah. And
Art and Skullwood just to what is
oh,
what they can
I know why Ruby is here now. It's because the second glove is at Kingsbrand, and
yes.
Hornet 2 is covering Kingsbrand. So
for
yeah.
The rest of the
and notably, that's something that neither Mirrors nor Akos have, but I think Mirrors is actually going there right now. So there you go. Hornet 2 is really annoying as a boss, both in the speedrun and just in general when you don't have many abilities. Just only being able to pogo her is already difficult enough, but also she has a parry, and that parry will instantly nullify any damage that you did to her during that parry, including spells, which is just super frustrating, and she's a really difficult boss, especially when you're trying to do it fast in a speedrun. Yeah, no fun. And she put spikes around.
No fun.
Heard she's getting her own game. Something like that, I don't know.
I don't know.
It's probably fake.
It must be fake. I don't know. Why would they give a side character their own game? When's that ever happened before?
Yeah, right? Seems like a fan project to me.
Does sound like it would be a fan project. Fortunate death to Hornet there. We're going right back into it though.
Yeah, there is a bench right there, so it's a pretty inconsequential death to take. R is opting to save some magic here by defeating these mummies using the hammer instead of what you would usually use as the fire rod. Reason for that is because Fa doesn't have much damage to defeat Mothula with, So you want to conserve as much fire rod ammo as you can, which is magic. And the reason for that is because Multiworld just takes way more damage to the fire rod than he would normally to like the hammer or the sword. Oh, that was dicey. Oh, full magic refill.
Miro has bought the Nail Master's Glory from Salubra. Might be possibly prepare for that fight against Hornet too.
Yeah, buying out some charms right before a big boss is pretty common. Definitely a good idea to give you the best possible chance of defeating it first try. Here's Mothula on 2 health is really scary. 1 hit will take out Far. 2 hits from the spikes, 1 hit from Mothula, so oh my.
Far is dodging and weaving.
Oh my. This is Mothula's being so mean right now as well. Like, get out of the corner.
Yeah, the arrow hit and does nothing because it just hits the spike.
I actually don't think the arrows damage Mothula as well, so.
Oh no. Oh.
Yeah, that's just yeah. Going in on that and 2 health is like, yeah, that's so rough.
Far will want to probably recover their magic and their health before they go back into fight Mothula again.
Likely, yes.
Gonna do a little bit of looking at this point to the spoiler I have to see about where these runners are expected to be at based on. So they're both going for King's Brand. See their area that is relative to everything else.
While you're checking the spoiler log, would now be a good time for some more messages?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So, of course, you are here watching Multithon Rivals 2024, and we are a speedrunning event raising money for Blue Path Service Dogs, a charity that provides service animals to autistic individuals. Multithon focuses on co-op runs, races, and games with multiple protagonists or helper characters, led by the belief that we are better and faster together. We're seeing that here with this tournament where these racers are helping each other. And a little bit more about Blue Path. Super important, each Blue Path dog comes with thousands of hours of training from dedicated volunteers and professional staff. The cost to repair these incredible dogs is upwards of $40,000, yet thanks to the ongoing generosity of supporters, Blue Path service dogs and intensive ongoing follow-up support are provided free of charge. And so that is super incredible. We are, of course, still trying to get to that $2,750 to unlock more Final Fantasy XIV fishing. So if you want to help raise an incredible cause and see more Multithon, ! Donate in chat and get your donations in.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, we see both HollowKnight runners both continuing to fight against Hornet.
Oh, it's now a good time to talk about BK.
Ooh.
I think Arcos is BK right now.
Yeah, Arcos might be BK.
But BK is a funny little joke acronym, I suppose, that is part of Archipelago. The legend goes that once upon a time, in the early days of Archipelago, there was a runner who was stuck with nowhere to go and waiting on items for so long that they said, I'm going to go to Burger King. And whether or not they did has been lost to time, but
I believe so. I believe they did actually go to Burger King.
that is the tale behind being BK, which is that it's like it's an acronym slang for when you have nothing to do and you're waiting for other people. You are BK.
The story is they had nothing to do. They went to Burger King, got food, came back, ate their food, and still had nothing.
Yeah, still had nothing to do.
So, there's clips of the stories somewhere, but it's so in honor of that, when you're on a mode of actually having nothing to do, you're considered to be in VK.
Yeah, and Arcos, I believe the reason why he was stationary for so long is because he was waiting for the Titan's Mids in order to get into Ice Palace, which hopefully we will be seeing a particular glitch here after he hits this switch. Oh, maybe not.
So, not here a bit later, I believe. But yes, I do hope we see this specific glitch as well.
There's two different ways to get through Ice Palace here. The typical way to get through in Rando, if you have the Cane of Samaria, you can do what's called Icebreaker, and that's a way of extending the door state so that you can clip through a wall. That's only allowed in Rando as part of the Link to the Past randomizer racing rules. The other way to get through, which we might be seeing Arcos do here, is the Ice Palace Bomb Jump, which is probably one of the more famous tricks in the game that is typically used for speedrunning. I don't think we're seeing that either, though. So probably just opting to go through the normal way just because we want to try and full clear this dungeon if we can. So pretty understandable. But we shall see. Maybe we'll do it later.
It would be a delight to see that. Slightly funny glitch is how you just
It looks very silly.
they just go over a wall, a barrier that normally is completely blocked access, but they just hop over with the use of the Cane of Samaria block, if I'm remembering this correctly.
Yes. You essentially use the Cane of Samaria block to extend the, like, make the game believe that you're still in a door, and something along the lines of it ignores collision for the wall or something like that while you're pushing the Samaria block. I don't really understand it. This game is magic sometimes. The Cane of Samaria is by far the most broken item in the game, though. In terms of glitched runs, the Cane of Samaria is one of the first items that you get, just to break the game as much as you can.
There are truly some crazy glitches you can do in the Link to the Past. Do you see that Far has now gone into Palace of Darkness after finishing Skull Woods? Ruby still struggling against Hornet. We can get that finished soon and get that glove. Akko's continuing through Ice Palace, and I'm not sure where Miro is going next.
Miro is in the Soul Sanctum, which is a sub-area of City of Tears. I think this is actually pretty smart. Normally, Nailmaster's Glory is a pretty useless charm, and I didn't want to write it off as that in case Miro had like an alternative way of using it. And it looks like he does, and the reason is because he still doesn't have another direction for the nail, but he does have Great Slash, and Great Slash is a forwards-facing nail. So Nailmaster's Glory actually does have a really niche use here, which is really cool to see. And there's those Titan's Mitts for Far as well.
Lovely. Good job, Far, and finally getting through that fight. Sorry, good job to Ruby getting through the fight and getting the gloves for Far. Another fight now on Miro's end.
Yeah, having the Howling Wraiths for this fight is also super nice, because when you only have a pogo, it's not very fun. But the back half of the Soul Sanctum has about 6 or 7 items, and they're pretty easy to strand as well because they are behind a boss that takes a decent amount of time to do. So people tend to usually hold off on doing Soul Sanctum for quite a while until it's already too late. So I do actually like this play here. I think it's a good point to go through Soul Sanctum because you have a decent amount of items. It's pretty fast to do the boss, and there's still a lot of items that you need to get, so. Ooh, big key of Total Rock. Interesting.
It has been funny seeing all these keys showing up in specifically the big key showing up in random locations. How the settings for these randomizers have been set up. Specific.
Ooh, I think Arcos is gonna go for Ice Palace Bomb Jump here, actually.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, here we go. Gotta wait for this firebar to go around, but we're gonna drop a bomb here, and we're gonna go to a very specific lineup to do with the sword. It's very tricky. It is pixel perfect, and there's multiple different like pixels that it will work on depending on your subpixel. So there's quite a lot of things you have to remember. It's also really difficult because you're about to slide off into a hole and there's a firebar going around this whole time. All right, let's give this another try. There we go. That's actually a really difficult trick. Basically what that allows you to do is it allows you to get into the boss arena of Ice Palace without having to go all the way through Ice Palace like several times. Just because those switches, they block off different areas of the dungeon depending on which part it's on. And normally to get through, you would have to go through once, go back upstairs, hit the switch, go back down, and go to the boss. Whereas here, you can just jump over those blocks that are blocking your path so that you don't have to worry about looping around several times.
I do want to note some developments from Miro. They have gone and they've gone through Soul Sanctum. They have found their long nail at Desolate Dive and an unhinted Queen fragment. They've also hinted for their Lumafly lantern, which is at Queen Station.
Interesting. I'd imagine the Lumafly lantern is to get into the dark side of Deep Nest. Again, a lot of items there and a sub area called Beast Den. So decently late game area that sometimes you might opt to go to a little bit earlier. But now is as good a time as any to get it done. And Arco's heading into Cold Stare, one of the most notorious bosses in this game for just being absolutely awful and does so much damage to you. Oh wow, he's even going for like a pseudo quick kill on him. That's actually awesome. There's a quick kill that you can do on Cold Stare. It's pretty difficult and it's very precise. And what I could see there is that Arcos is going for a modified setup of it, which I really like, and I thought that was really cool. So it makes this boss a lot less punishing, I would say.
Wait, well that is another dungeon and boss down for Arcos. See where they all go next. Now they have Titan Glove. We see that Far has it as well, but they are going to go to... They're deciding to go to Misery Mire first, or maybe possibly use Mirror to get into Desert Palace.
Yeah, so actually, I forgot that the flippers do actually have an alternative use. They're required to get into Swamp Palace, and again, I don't know if Swamp Palace is required or not, whether the runners think they need to go there, but it... Oh, and there's the Pegasus boots for Far as well. This is the Link to the Past dash ability. So I was really curious whether either of the runners were going to hint it, because I personally, it'd be one of the first items that I hint, just because it makes the game faster and so much more, like, I guess, like it's a quality of life item at its heart. But yeah.
Some locations that require the boots for you to dash into them, but in general it is used for speed and to get around the world as a whole much faster.
There's a check called Bonk Rocks. It also does allow you to bonk over certain like ledges and holes. And again, the runners are in the same area. That's really funny. So Arcos is about to pick up his Pegasus boots here as well. I want to say that Arcos requires the flippers and then is in go mode. And I'm pretty sure Mirror is pretty close to go mode as well. We're just waiting on, I believe, one more white fragment and 2 more dreamers.
They might need various big keys depending on the dungeons, but I'll say.
True, yes, that is true.
Did I just hear go mode?
Possibly. Getting close.
Oh, so chat, you know what that means. I know the estimate says 3 hours, but this is a randomizer. This could end at any time, which means if we want to see that Final Fantasy XIV fishing, we might not have a whole lot of time. So let's get those donations in. Let's get to that $2,750. I believe in you, chat. I know we can get there. Let's get those donations going.
So that is Isma's tier was also acquired by Ruby. So I'll be using that now.
The reason why Isma's tier is not as useful as an item as it could be is because you can do something called acid skips. If you have the claw and the sea dash, typically, but you can also do it with just dash and wings as well. The actual hitbox of the acid doesn't go as far up as it looks on the sprite, or I guess the background object. So you can actually like just kind of kiss the hitbox but not quite touch it, and then just go over it using like a horizontal ability, and it ends up kind of nullifying Isma's tier. There are still a couple required uses of it. There is one invisible wall in the game, but that's getting really niche.
We are seeing a small divergence here between our Link to the Past runners, with Akos has gone into Misery Mire, Golfari has gone into Desert Palace, where they have a Dream Nail for Ruby. Another weapon upgrade, if I am correct.
What was that, sorry?
The Dream Nail.
So the Dream Nail is... it's hard to explain. It's more of a progression item, sorry. Where in that it allows you to get to certain new bosses, like the Dream Warriors and whatnot. And also one particular late game area. There's 3 upgrades of it. There's the regular Dream Nail, which unlocks most of the bosses. There's the Dream Gate, which is like a movement ability that allows you to teleport, which is not as useful when you have bench warp, but it is still relatively useful when you're like retrying a skip repeatedly. And then there's the Awoken Dream Nail, and the Awoken Dream Nail will allow you to get into a very late game area called the White Palace, which I would be curious to see if we're going to be going there, because it's very long, very late, and there are a lot of items in there. So people say a lot of the time that it's bait, but it's also one of my favorite areas in the game, so I really like to go there when I have the chance.
We do see far now, at least the entrance to Misery Mire, but they have also starting to hit their own big keys to help clear out what's left locations of dungeons in their world. Well, they might not be wanting to Hera pot if they can to get to that boss of Tower of Hera.
Yeah, while Herapot is useful, it does actually use up some bombs, and it has a health cost associated with it, so sometimes runners might not like to do it, which is totally fair. And there's our second king fragment, second white fragment from Ruby.
This is interesting. The big key to Tower of Hera is on Master Sword pedestal.
Oh, wow. Okay. Now that's mean, because logically that would mean that this seed becomes an all dungeon seed, but you can skip the big key provided that what's in the big chest is nothing required, and also whether you can do Herapod or not. So provided that the big key, the big chest in Tower of Hera doesn't have anything useful, I would probably put Arcos and Miro in the lead right now. But if they don't know that, and there's something like, I don't know, a white fragment, a dreamer in that chest, we could be in for some really interesting routing here.
And just do a quick snoop just to see what is on that Tower of Hera big chest. Just to see if there's anything important there.
We see far in the fabled fish room, which is the room that looks like a fish.
Russian, but I am just gonna scroll this a little bit. That is some pale ore, which is, I believe, is the weapon upgrade for HollowKnight.
That's correct, yes.
Yeah, so it's not really hard to finish, but it's something the runners might want and might hint for.
Yeah, well, it depends whether they think about logically what it depends, right? Because Far might think, okay, if the big key is on the pedestal, I don't want to have to do the pedestal. So if they find the foresight to hint, I don't know if you can hint specific locations or whether you can hint just like the item.
With the archipelago system, yes, you can hint individual locations. So
Okay, because if Far has the foresight to hint that location, then we might realize that, you know, that's not required and then move on to just doing Hopop.
they would use some of their limited hints, but in this case of finding out that something is on the Master Sword pedestal, and that is the only location unlocked by that item, you might want to check and be like, is that actually needed?
Ah, and there's another Dreamer on Mira and Arcos' side, so that gives us one more item closer to beating the game. Arcos also taking a death in a dark room here. Misery Maya's basement is entirely dark, so it's quite scary. So I guess the lamp is also another consideration for them if they decide to want to get it.
If they did just hint.
They did just hint it? Okay.
Hint the lamp, yep.
Where was that, by the way?
Yeah, the lamp, it is. I do not see it. I'm realizing now, in hindsight, I should have had one on HollowKnight when I'm linked to the past, but I opened the tech client for HollowKnight for both. So I'm like, don't see any items that are
called the lamp in HollowKnight.
So I have to go to the web tracker to see that. So the lamp, I believe we do know already from it being hinted before in Far's side. Yes, Far had already hinted the lamp, and we know it's in Watcher's Spire.
Ah, that's right. Yes. I don't remember. Yeah, and Far and Ruby have the lamp because I believe I saw them going there before. So that means Far is going to be able to very easily complete this dungeon.
Well, I guess I'm saying the fact it didn't show up. Wait, yeah, because Watcher's Spire is a HollowKnight location. So I don't know why it didn't show up. Maybe Akos doesn't have enough points?
Possibly. So Ruby has entered the Abyss, which is an area that does require the King's Brand, which we found earlier. I don't quite remember where it was, but it does have a few very late game items. It's a very late game location. And this is the Lifeblood Core room.
King's Brand was in here. I can easily check in.
That's right. Yeah. So it was a pretty early game item. So it's a good idea to check it since you got it so early on in the seed.
Ah, yeah, so the hint for lamp did not actually go through because Akos just doesn't have enough hint points, so I guess...
Interesting.
Yeah, so just looking at the total locations for both players, Miro has done a lot more checks in HollowKnight compared to Ruby. And so Akos and Miro are ahead both in checks, and I guess in total items, but Far...
I would say in progression as well, yeah.
Yes, but Far and Ruby do have more knowledge of where those items are and what they will need.
Exactly. So we are entering Swamp Palace here, which means that Arcos does have the flippers. I think I also missed that. I don't quite remember seeing Arcos pick it up, but I assume it was somewhere in HollowKnight.
Yes, the flippers were at Descending Dark.
Ah, that's right. Yeah, we did also check that. I forgot about that.
We might have also just missed that Miro got their half magic upgrade with those flippers at Zora's Ledge.
Oh, that's right.
Let me see now. Miro...
Not a required item, but very, very nice to have.
This is not Swamp Palace. What's...
Yeah, this is Swamp Palace.
Oh, it is Swamp Palace. Okay. Got some knowledge of these games.
Swamp Palace is a unique dungeon in that it actually has no small keys in it. It's all items or map key, big key. So it's again, oh, okay. There's one small key, that is required to be there's one small key that I forgot about because it's typically always there because logically it cannot be anywhere else, but in terms of key sanity it can also be slightly moved. Yeah, because small keys are randomized within the dungeon pool. So that what I meant to say is that there's no small keys in chests. And here's Specky Clip. That's a small rail clip that was discovered actually last year by Specky Spec, funnily enough, that allows you to get into Swamp Palace without the hammer, which is very niche, and it also does require the hookshot, which you would normally find in Swamp Palace. So it's actually not possible in vanilla. But I think here we're also possibly going to be seeing Diver Down. Maybe not.
To see a hint from Ruby on Room in Their Dreamers. They do say that Lurian is at Enraged Guardian, which I might be going to fight now.
Yeah, they're sea dashing towards Crystal Peak.
Double check.
I have another donation if we've got a moment.
Absolutely.
We have $2 from Anonymous who says, I heard there's potential for more fishing. I want to see that. So chat, can we get a $2 donation train going for fish? And this donator is correct. If everyone watching donated $2, we would hit that fishing milestone super easily. So yeah, let's get that donation train going. Why don't you tell me what your favorite type of fish is? I'm partial to angelfish personally, but Hopop and Violet, what about you? What's your favorite kind of fish?
Shark's fish.
Sure, sharks for fish.
I
like sharks. I've heard people argue that sharks are not fish, but I like sharks.
This did come up in their, like, not, maybe not in the last run, but in the last run I was in, which was the roots of pacha fishing. I'm not really sure which real live fish I like. I guess better to eat them, so any form of delicious fish. I do prefer full fish over shellfish when it comes especially to eating. So I guess in that point I like a good salmon, which...
Ooh, salmon is good.
Salmon is good.
Salmon is good.
All right, so when you donate, you can tell us your favorite real fish, your favorite in-game fish, your favorite fish to eat, whatever. Just tell us about your favorite fish, and let's get that fishing incentive met.
I'm trying to think of my favorite Stardew Valley fish now.
Ooh. I have some fish against, I have vendettas against that I do not like, especially because of how hard they are to catch.
I like the lava eel.
Lava eel is good. I've never really had too many problems with lava eel, even though it is one of the hardest fish. But
Yeah, I think it's got a score of like 88 or something like that.
yeah, I will say that, especially when I've been doing Stardew randomizers, the scorpion carp and the ice pip have been ones to cause me issues.
Oh yeah, I can understand that.
Because you expect you can get them a little bit earlier. You don't need all your rods or all your fishing levels, but so you try to get a bit early, but they prove just hard enough.
So notably, actually, sorry to interrupt, we just saw Miro pick up, I believe, his last streamer. So they have Monoman, Hera, and Lurian. So they have access to Black Egg. I think they need one more white fragment, and then they are in go mode, I believe. As long as Arcos realizes that he doesn't need the lamp and also the whole Tower of Hera shebang, but yeah, very interesting.
Because of that, they're not going to hit, because Arcos did the Hera pot, they're not going to hint for that big key. They're not going to see it's on, and they're not going to see it's on Master.
Exactly. So they probably won't need to worry about it, especially since they already have basically like the only thing that they need now is the white fragment, and if they hint for it, they'll know where it is, and they already know where the lamp is. So as long as they have all the big keys that they need, which I'm checking right now.
There is a lot of big keys they need. I will note that Ruby did
Yeah.
hint for her as well, so they might be going over to there. And in terms of items that Akos has, they need the 2 fragments and the Void Heart. They do have King Fragment, Queen Fragment. They
Yes.
do not have Void Heart yet. So that, I believe, is the last item that Miro needs for
Yes.
them to finish.
So one thing to note about HollowKnight is that because there's so many locations in that game, we actually do opt to duplicate some of the items. So some of the items, I believe, both there are 2 dashes in vanilla. So there's 4 dashes in Rando. There's 2 claws, 2 monarch wings, 3 of every spell because each spell is progressive, and you need the base spell, the void spell, and then a dupe. And then also there should be a 4th white fragment. So there are actually 2 white fragments left in the world, but they only need 1 more.
I will note that it doesn't look like it looks like that in the Archipelago Rainbow, at least these duplicated items might not exist.
That also does make sense. Given that there's 2 people playing, it might make more sense to not do that.
Yeah, and the idea that items aren't always in your own world, it makes sense that when you're all your items you have yourself and you have to find yourself. Makes sense to make it easier for yourself, that give you multiple so that you don't have to be looking around everywhere. Especially with Archipelago's hint system, it makes it easier to find those single items. Or at least locate them, maybe not reach them.
So right now, Far has been in Misery Mire for a while. It's a really difficult dungeon to get done when you only have the fighter sword, the hammer, and 1 arrow, like the base form of arrows. So, yeah, I would be struggling as well here. This is not easy.
Yeah, this is, I believe, their 2nd attempt.
I think it's their 3rd. Oh no.
I do remember at least 1 visit to the witch between fights.
Yeah, they already used their potion.
Yeah, Far did hint for a sword, hopefully helped with this fight. And
Hopefully.
I did find a sword at Kingdom's Edge camp.
I've got another donation if we've got a moment.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so chat, we're about to hit the 2-hour mark, which is extra exciting because we have that $2 train starting to leave the station with $2 from Anonymous saying, $2 train? A small price to pay for fish. Let's get more Final Fantasy XIV and more Multithon. We've got about an hour left of this tournament, and then we got that click showcase. But after that, the event's going to be over unless we reach that $2,750 total raised. If everyone watching donates $2, we can easily hit that goal. So jump on that $2 train. Tell us about your favorite fish, and let's get more fishing and more Multithon.
We did see just now Akos easily take care of that same boss with their level 3 sword and a good handful of arrows.
Yeah, level 3 sword. The optimal strat is to actually damage boost and spin attack. But playing it safe, which I totally understand, you can get rid of them pretty easily with level 3 tempered sword. And additionally, we did also see some minor glitches on Far's screen. The pushing blocks that you see throughout the game in various areas, if you're in the cave state specifically, not in a dungeon, don't do it in a dungeon because it will be bad. If you mash the mirror while you're inside a cave and you're pushing a block, the block will disappear and you can just walk through it. That's really useful because it usually skips some kind of like movement, typically like having to walk around them, like you push it, walk around, then fall down afterwards. You can also hookshot through them if you mash the hookshot. I'm not quite sure why they disappear. Again, this game is an enigma sometimes, but it's really nice. However, if you do it in a dungeon, you'll just get sent back to the beginning of the dungeon because that's what the mirror does.
I will note that Far has gone up to Turtle Rock and checked the medallion they need, which is Ether, which they do not have yet. But they have also gone to Hookshot Cave and found a few useful items. A can of burner, which isn't as useful since they already have the cape. But they did get Cyclone Slash and Up Slash for Ruby.
Ah, okay. So now they have up and down.
Up and down. Sure.
Oh, and I think Ruby has right slash, actually. Yeah, it looks like Ruby does have right slash, which is quite nice. And also mentioning that Turtle Rock is the Ether Medallion, I don't know whether it's a pendant dungeon or not, but if it's a crystal dungeon, that actually does mean that Arcos is not quite in Go mode yet. Arcos does not have the Ether Medallion, which would be required to get into Turtle Rock if it is a required dungeon. So maybe we'll be seeing a hint from them. Maybe they'll just stumble across it naturally. Who knows?
I want to do a small quick check to see. It does look like Turtle Rock is a crystal, so they will need that ether to complete.
Okay.
Excuse me.
So they're very, very close to Go mode, but not quite.
Not quite. There's still some things items to be acquired for both games at this point. Still need items to get into Black Eye for HollowKnight, and the items to finish the dungeons for Link to the Past.
Yes. And also they don't have the lamp yet.
We know Far has the lamp, but Akos does not, I believe.
Akos does not have the lamp, but again, you can just use the fire rod, like in this room specifically, to light up the torches.
To see Far has re-entered Palace of Darkness after receiving that big key at the Desert Ledge. Remembering that location correctly. Remember what was in...
Oh, hammer yump.
Yep. Oh.
This is a pixel perfect bomb jump. Wow. Okay, that's really impressive. That's a pixel perfect bomb jump in order to make it over that ledge without having to walk all the way up there. And that allows you to get to the big chest and without having to go all the way around. Saves a bit of time. It's used in the vanilla speedrun, but it's particularly hard because you have to be not only very precise, but the floor is falling behind you. So if you take too long, you're actually going to fall into a pit. So that was really cool.
That is Helmusar King down for Akos, since you'll see if that is a pendant or a crystal. Just some rupees, but it is a pendant. Unfortunate. I'm trying to think now if they do actually need the map to check if it's a pendant or crystal or not. I mean, I do not know myself. We do have some hints from Miro for fragile strength and shaman stone, probably to help with them with some combat.
We got another donation if we got a moment.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We have Happy by 3 joining that $2 dono train for Blue Pass Server Dog saying, ooh, we talking about fish? My favorite fish to eat is salmon, unless it's sushi. Then my favorite is unagi. My favorite fish that exists is the oarfish because, like, what the heck is that thing, you know? Majestic and horrifying perfection. Thank you for that donation, Happy. And that has put us $142 away from that goal. Once again, if everyone watching donated $2, we would hit that fishing goal super easily, super fast. So get your donations in. Let's see Final Fantasy XIV fishing.
Unagi is eel, is it not?
I don't know. Happy, we need another $2 from you to tell us what unagi is. We're confused.
Yeah, it's the Japanese word for eel. I should try that sometime.
I mean, I definitely have not tried unagi before. Not really been in a good position to.
Do we even have eels in Australia?
Maybe.
I'm in my own little crisis here. Do we have eels in Australia?
I don't know, but we do have another $2 donation. This time from Hopop, saying joining the train from the commentator box. Indeed, you are. Thank you so much for joining that train.
We do see Far taking on Helmsar as well. Miro just got their own King's brand. And Seer. Probably help with their combat.
Looks like Arcos got a little confused and does not have the ETH medallion and is probably going to hint it now.
I'm watching the text line, waiting for that hint to show up.
They might not have enough points to...
Oh! What is the timing? Oh, I'm not sure.
No way! That's so funny.
Hold on. Okay, they did already have it hinted.
Okay. Okay. No, that makes sense.
Yeah, so they knew, so they were truly just sitting there waiting for that to come in. Okay, I can check the server console log for the game and just see when was that ether hinted. Yes, it was hinted a bit ago.
So, I don't know which dungeons are required, but I think this is the last dungeon that they need? Maybe?
I believe they still need a good number of crystals on both ends.
So, they've cleared Tower of Hera, which was a crystal. They cleared Skullwoods, which was a pendant. They cleared... I think Palace of Darkness was a crystal.
Palace was blue pendant, if I remember.
Oh, okay. No, that makes sense, yeah. Typically, when you're routing in Link to the Past, you kind of want to manage when you go to Turtle Rock, because if you go to Turtle Rock as the last dungeon, Ganon's Tower is right around the corner, so it makes a lot of sense routing-wise, but that's best case scenario, and a lot of times it just doesn't show up like that, which is unfortunate, but it is really nice when it does happen. So I was curious whether that was the case here.
Are seeing some hints on Ruby and Far's side, a hint for Shade Cloak, and a hint for Big Key. So Ruby's gone over to Leg Eater now and is buying various items, including Quake and a sword for Far, and that Shade Cloak. That Eastern Palace Big Key, if I can quickly check on the web checker, just give it a moment to update.
Yeah, because some dungeons actually don't require the big key to beat them. So I think they have actually... I think Arcos has gone to all of the dungeons which don't require a big key, which is really smart. So specifically, Swamp Palace never requires the big key unless... Like, all of this is assuming there is nothing in the big chest. Swamp Palace doesn't require one. Ice Palace doesn't require one, and Tower of Hera doesn't require one if you can do Terrapot. But those are the only three. So, interesting thing to note, I suppose, but I think the relevant time for that has already passed.
Alright, just want to note so that big key for Eastern Palace is on Bombo's tablet, so that means that they will need to get the Book of Medora for Far and find where that is.
Sure.
Both sides will need to find that book to get that big key to complete Eastern Palace. Let's just double check and see where are all their pendants.
Careful there, Ruby. This is one of the infamous rooms in the game because there's... Fog Canyon is already a really scary area because you have a bunch of jellyfish that don't attack you, but if you attack them, they turn into bombs. And that room is just full of bombs, so it's scary.
Am I correct in that this is Miro going to the final boss now?
No. So Mira doesn't have the requirements to beat True Ending right now. There is actually an item in Black Egg that requires 3 Dreamers, and it's a very niche check, but it can often be something very useful and required.
It was.
So it's a good idea not to strand it. Incredibly useful.
Incredible useful. An item for the very start of the game, if I'm correct.
Yes.
So at this point, almost entirely useless.
Yes.
Maybe for a warp, but they do already have bridge warp.
Yeah, there's pretty much no reason to have that. That it's unfortunate, but I've had I've done some renders where Black Egg had like claw or dash or something, and it's always really funny when that happens.
Ooh, that is unfortunate. That is, I'm not sure what exactly item you need to navigate to get to the egg.
You don't need any items to get there, because the dreamers are always randomized. But it's really funny when you've been playing for like an hour and a half and you still don't have a dash, but you do find 3 dreamers for whatever reason, and then it ends up being in Black Egg.
That is funny to think about. Oh, I see
Oh.
that city crest for Ruby on that blacksmith.
Not particularly useful at this point because it only gets you into city again, which they already have plenty of city access. Oh, dive storage. That's a funny little meme, I suppose. HollowKnight, even though it doesn't maybe seem like it, is actually a pretty notoriously broken game. There's a lot of glitches in there, even in the most recent patch of the game, that can involve some pretty silly things. But I'm not really sure why Miro is fighting the final boss right now. Arcos is not in go mode, and there's no items behind this final boss. Might be something that I'm missing here, but
Just double check. Did they have
well, I suppose we'll see soon. If Hornet joins the fight, then they are in go mode. If Hornet does not join the fight, I'm not quite sure what the goal is here. Oh.
Though I'm not sure that. I guess I might just finish to finish, even if there are more items.
Yeah.
So it might be that all
Release
of them
is not allowed, right?
Yeah. Release is definitely not on, so they will not be able to release all their items that they finish. They must continue playing.
Maybe Miro is doing this in the meantime while waiting for Arcos to finish something or get something, and then re-enter the game and do the rest of the things.
While we're waiting to see what's happening with the runners, can I jump in with another donation?
Yeah, absolutely.
We have $21 from Maeve, so that is 10.5 tickets for this $2 dono train, saying every fish is best fish. Let's get that incentive met. And that has brought us up to $2,630.86, putting us at just under $120 away, $119.14 specifically, to get that incentive met. As you've been hearing, we're starting to see more final things. We're approaching the final end of this chat. We don't have a ton of time. Keep getting your donations in. Again, I'm going to say it one more time. If everyone watching donates $2, we will get that Final Fantasy XIV fishing incentive met. I believe in you. I know we can do it. It's for an amazing cause. ! Donate in chat to get that link and buy your ticket for this $2 train.
Thank you so much for that.
Well, no.
And
Two things here. Akos has gone into Ganon's Tower. That because we have set the setting that they do not need all 7 crystals to go into Ganon's Tower itself. You only need 5.
Ah, okay. That makes sense.
So I do believe there was something hinted. No, I know that Ruby and Far hinted something that they found is in Ganon's Tower, but not Akos and Miro. So again, this is Akos saying, okay, I can't go to either of these dungeons yet, but I can't go into Ganon's Tower, so let's see what's in there.
Yeah, which does have 20 checks actually in the basement, which do not require the big key. So it does actually have quite a few things that that can be useful, especially if you only need 5 crystals to get in here. That changes things quite a lot, because you are then able to grab a whole bunch of stuff.
There's another funny thing to note, that the final boss on Miro's side, because they're playing with a Mimikyu skin, the final boss has been given the skin of the Pokemon Volcarona.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is a weird true ending.
There is Volcarona caught, supposedly.
Not yet.
Not yet, though. They broke out of the Pokeball.
They were so close. They should have used a Great Ball.
It has been funny in the watching them where an enemy is defeated if they are given a skin of a Pokemon where when they are killed they go into a Pokeball.
Yeah.
Including when they die, they themselves die, they go into a Pokeball as well. We do see now on Far and Ruby's side a hint for that book, which is behind Sly with key. So the shopkeeper's key has also been hinted. There we go. Going back to Akos now, we see Akos has just found the big key to Desert Palace. Again,
Interesting.
going there now.
And that Book of Medora is required, I believe, because of the big key that was behind the Bombos tablet. Something like that. I think
Yeah.
Eastern Palace big key was behind the Bombos tablet.
Yes, which is why they hinted the book and the shopkeeper's key. That is the fourth sword for Akos in Ganstar as well, so now as almost as strong as possible. They have a level 2 shield, I believe, and level 2 mail.
Yes. Yes.
Some defensive properties there.
And also technically the silver arrows, which is also something that I think is relevant to talk about. In the regular game, the game expects you to have the silver arrows in order to beat Ganon. However, you can actually beat Ganon without using the silver arrows by using a technique that we call Silverless, obviously. That essentially requires some precise spin attacks to damage Ganon while he's vulnerable. Oh, big key of Thieves Town. Not super useful, but we'll see. But it allows you to damage Ganon with only an upgraded sword. You can't do it with a fighter sword. It must be at least the master sword. And that is typically allowed for randomizer. I believe it wasn't allowed for the bracket stage of this tournament, but it is allowed today.
It did allow Silverless throughout this tournament if both players agreed to it, then they were allowed to do Silverless. So they have agreed to do Silverless for this final as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. It is a pretty tricky technique to do that takes some learning and getting used to, so I can totally understand that. But once you do learn it, it's a very integral part of Link to the Past randomizer.
Yeah, so I will note there, Miro did finish off the final boss, but they have gone back into the game to continue finding items if needed. But it's good to finish as soon as possible so that they can all they're there now is finding the items that Akos needs, and once Akos is done, then they're both done. And they have finished.
Can I jump in real quick?
Absolutely.
We are now less than $100 away from that fishing incentive. We just got a $25 donation from Cafcolio that says, woohoo, here's to more fishing. Absolutely, we are so close. Keep going, chat. I know we can meet it. Back to you, Hopop.
Thank you. I also wanted to note that Fard finished off their boss in Misery Mire. Got, I believe, was a crystal.
Yeah, I think so.
Currently checking the hints to see what is possible for them. Akos is going to be finishing Desert Palace and probably their Thieves Town just to see what their rewards are there.
Yeah, I did also forget that Thieves Town it requires the big key in order to beat the dungeon, so that makes sense as to why.
Asked about that when that came up.
Yeah, my mistake.
Funny that Ganon's Tower was a required dip in this case to get the big key for Thieves Town and for Desert Palace, as those two are probably crystals and not pendants.
Yeah, that typically only happens when you randomize big keys alongside all of the items. Although it can actually happen in vanilla, and it's very funny. There's certain items that are required for Ganon's Tower, but may or may not be required for getting the crystals, which include things like the hookshot, the boots, the fire rod as well. It's very funny when that happens.
That is not twin mold. What's
Landmolus.
Landmolus? Yes, that's. I don't believe a name that comes up ever again in Legend of Zelda.
I don't think so. No, I think it's just Link to the Past.
I don't remember what the Link Between Worlds name for the Desert Palace boss is.
I think it was some funky name that again hasn't been used before. Link Between Worlds is a great game though. Also a very cool game to speedrun. I would like to speedrun that one day.
I do know that I believe that Link to the Past, Link Between Worlds, has an in development randomizer for Archipelago as well.
Yeah, I think the randomizer itself is in beta. I'm not sure about the Archipelago extension, but it has been in development for a little while.
Quick look up the boss for Link Between Worlds. What is this called?
Yeah, because in Link Between... Link Between Worlds Desert Palace is actually in the Dark World, so it has a weird... I think it's also called the Sand Palace, if I remember correctly. Or maybe the Sand Sanctuary or something.
It is called Desert Palace still.
Oh, okay.
It operates very differently, and it requires use of the Sand Rod item to navigate.
The Sand Rod, that's right, yeah. The infamous item that is only required for that dungeon is kind of really weird to obtain and is not required in the speedrun.
Yes, because it requires you to finish another dungeon before you get it. I forget which dungeon that is.
I want to say Thieves Town, because there's the guy, the wizard guy, and he like gets stuck in a painting and you have to save him from that specific dungeon.
Yeah, Sahasrara's apprentice.
Yes. So Mira making it through Trader Lord, which is one of the more difficult bosses in the game because they actually do double damage to you. Making it out on 1 HP as well. Notably also, Mira was wearing a charm called Joni's Blessing, which is a charm that while it gives you additional lifeblood health, it turns all of your health into the blue, it's like blue health, which is called lifeblood. And that kind of health is it's sort of temporary health in that you can't heal it back. So wearing Joni's Blessing, while it gives you way more hearts overall, it means that you actually can't heal. So when you get down to 1 HP when you're wearing Joni's Blessing, it's actually quite scary.
Cool one to know. It does look like Farah has done Hera Pot, so they can go up and finish Tower of Hera and get that crystal. So it looks like that, I guess logically, because Tower of Hera was a crystal, Master Sword Pedestal was also required.
Yeah, it actually was.
That they can easily skip over that.
Yeah, that's a good meme. It happens every now and again that it's a fake pedestal seed.
Well, it's a logical pedestal seed, but not when it's not skilled pedestal.
Yeah. He's blind.
We have another
no,
donation
sorry.
if we got a moment.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have $25 to Blue Pass Service Dogs from the Valiant Son that says, more fishing means more JPEG, means more Multithon, means more time for dogs. I know we're excited to see fishing, but we are also here raising money for dogs. And with that, that has brought us to $69.14 left to reach that goal. Chat, like, we're in go mode to try and hit that donation incentive. I know the runners aren't quite there yet, but let's go. I know we can get there. Let's jump on that train. Let's meet it.
Actually, I do believe that we are officially in go mode now with Akos getting that. I believe that was the last crystal they needed.
Okay, Chad, you heard that.
Yeah, I think
heard that.
so.
They are at the top of pyramid. They're jumping in. We're gonna see a silverless Ganon happening right here.
Oh, I see. Okay, so this Ganon fight is actually, it's a modified version of 7 crystals called Ganon Vulnerable at 7 crystals, where the Ganon hole is open to you from the beginning, I believe. But Ganon is only vulnerable once you have 7 crystals, so it means that you don't have to go through all of Ganon's tower.
So they have Ganon's tower and Ganon themselves are separated, so that you do not need to finish Ganon's tower to go fight Ganon themselves. You just need the correct number of crystals.
Ganon is a pretty tough boss. He has 4 phases. You can optimally sort of kind of do a cycle skip, or I guess it's more like a 1 cycle. It's very tight though. Luckily, Arcos has the Butter Sword, as it's called, the Gold Sword, which is the furthest upgrade of the sword that you can have, so you're going to be doing maximum damage to Ganon. So here, we're entering the 3rd phase. We're in the 3rd phase right now, we're about to enter the 4th phase, and notably, we are hopefully going to see something called Torch Glitch here. These torches down the bottom, they're going to go out left to right. Did you find the silver arrows in my tower? No, we did not. So we'll see it here. Yes, that was very nice. That's a 12 frame window, I believe. And what you need to do is you need to light the left torch before the right torch goes out. And what that does is it means that the right torch will never go out. So you only ever need to worry about hitting the left torch again. And here we're doing Silverless Ganon, which is basically we're backing in and out of Ganon during his shooting the fireball. Right at the beginning of his teleport, he is actually vulnerable to a sword spin. So we can utilize that to deal damage to him even though we don't have the silver arrows. And with the gold sword, he only requires 12 hits, I believe, as opposed to... Ooh, that's unfortunate. Very, very close though. I believe he only takes... I think it's 24 with the tempered sword and then 12 with the gold sword, and then I think it's 40 with the Master Sword? Something crazy like that. But Ganon is a really tough boss, especially when you only have 1 male upgrade, so opting to go and grab some potions here is a really smart play.
I can look up information on exact damage that Ganon needs.
We also do see Mirror fighting some Volt Orbs here. Oh, these are Electrodes, sorry.
Sorry, these are electrodes? Yeah. Yeah, so it does look like, yes, with level 3 or 4 sword, it is 12 spin attacks to take down Ganon. Very interesting to note that the silver arrows were in Ganon's tower. So Arcos and Mirror do not know how that they are, I would say, handily in the lead at this point. So they might take the time to go back into Ganon's tower, but it doesn't look like Arcos is going straight back into Ganon.
Yeah. Silverless Ganon, when you have the gold sword, as long as you know how to do the silverless part of the fight, the rest of the fight is pretty trivial, just because he takes so little hits to transition into different phases. So I think right about now, he's already transitioned into the 3rd phase. He's done enough damage to transition into the 3rd phase. Yeah. Alright, so we're in the 3rd phase now. This was Ifar doing the Armors quick kill. We didn't see Armors this run because Armors is a pendant dungeon. Eastern Palace is a pendant dungeon, but it's a very cool boss quick kill. And it's pretty technical as well, so very nice. So here we will hopefully be seeing Torch Glitch again. Nice. I personally actually prefer to do it with the lamp, but obviously they don't have the lamp, so it is a little bit tricky. But you do only need to hit that first 12 frame window, and then you are set.
Oh yeah, so it looks like Far is going to the Master Sword pedestal right now. Probably should check what's in that big key of Tower of Hera, though unfortunately, as we know, there's some Miro and Akos. That is not needed at all. So at this point now, we're just waiting for Akos to finish off Ganon, and time will be called once Ganon is finished and they walk into the room with the Triforce.
And we see Fire actually pulling the big key of Tower of Hera sword out of the pedestal. We're coming up on time here. When the mosaic transition starts, that will be time.
At this point,
Time.
how far do we have left in our run overall? I want to see if it is worth it to let Ruby and Far finish. We do have about half an hour left, so this is a tournament. So I guess I'm just debating, should we let them finish, or should we give them the call that game is over? We'll see if Akos and Miro say anything. See if we see a GG from them in the Discord or not. Yeah, we've got half an hour. We'll let them finish. I'm just going to yeah. Just gonna see if I can give them I'm just gonna
Maybe give them a heads up.
Yeah, I'm just gonna quickly hop over to their room and say that we're gonna let the others finish, so I will be right back.
Sounds good. While Hopop is letting the runners know what's going on, I want to just remind you all of what's going on here on the donation side of things. We are still $69 away from meeting that bonus Final Fantasy XIV expert level fishing showcase. We're so close, chat. We have that $2 donation train going. Tell us about your favorite fish. We'd love to hear more about fish. And of course, all of this money is going to the incredible Blue Pass service dogs. And their expertly trained autism service dogs offer safety and freedom to families. A Blue Pass service dog's primary role is to provide safety for a child out in public. The dogs are trained to prevent a child from bolting either into the street or away from parents in a crowded area. They also provide children with much-needed companionship, increased social acknowledgement from peers, opportunities for independence, and increased levels of confidence. This is such an incredible charity we're supporting, and so I'm not ready for the event to end. I bet all of you aren't ready either, so let's get into go mode with those donations. Let's get that $69. Let's see Final Fantasy XIV fishing.
Hello, yes, I am back. So I am going to
Hello.
I'm going to bring our winners over just so we can have a talk with them.
Yeah, fantastic.
Talk about the seed, because there's definitely some funny thing that happened in this seed.
Oh, yeah.
Miro, Akos,
Hello.
Welcome. GG's.
congratulations on your win.
Thank you.
So let's talk about how that seed went.
This was really fancy.
Some funny things happened supposedly.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the seed was self-aware, honestly. Just the Tower of Hera big key hint in Tower of Hera, and then blind pun being about Agadar rooms was...
Yeah, that was pretty funny. Your choice to do the Aghanim 1 Dark Rooms so early actually paid off like very, very well. The other team opted to wait a little bit longer, and it gave you a pretty big advantage going into the early part of the seed. And then obviously the whole Herapot situation was very funny.
Yeah, learning new tricks live on a stream is always fun.
I mean, to me, it looked like you were either hinting or maybe looking up like some visual cues or something, but like you pulled it off very well. I think you got it like second try or something like
It
that.
was second try. I mean, the lineup is easy. I didn't hit left on the first attempt, and I got.
You didn't hit left, yeah. I did see that. It happens, yeah. But once you know that, you'll never forget it again.
Yeah, if I had read the
do wanna
trick description fully, it
chime
would have
in?
been fine. But
Do want to quickly chime in and say that we did just see an icebreaker from far.
We
over
did,
the
yeah.
That'll put the block down and you jump over that wall.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. The other funny thing in logic was the required GT right side dip as well.
Well,
Just
technically further for the silver arrows as well.
yeah, true, technically,
Actually,
but yeah, that was a really clean silverless.
where were those? It wasn't right at the first attempt, but where in Tower were those? Out of curiosity.
Double check that where that bow was. Was in the compass room. In Games Tower.
Actually skipped that.
Yeah, you skipped that. Yeah, I did notice that.
I got Buttersword, and I was like, oh well, I'm fine. I don't need to grab any of these other chests on the way. That would just waste time.
You got the sword, and you got the two big keys, and like I don't need anything else. I don't need the the silver arrows that are just a room or two away.
So a bit before that, we had actually remembered that hints were going to be at 5% for this, and I just hinted all of my remaining big keys. So I knew where the big keys were. So as soon as I got Buttersword, I was just like, okay, I'm just not going to check any other chests in between me and the key, because what could it possibly be? Turns out, it was something useful.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the funny thing is that, logically, this was an all-dungeon seed.
Yes.
With that big key on pedestal.
It was also logically... Lamp was pretty late. I'm pretty sure Lamp was... actually... Do you still have the...
Lamp was at Ascending... no, Watch Aspire, sorry.
Which I don't believe... Yeah, Ruby did go to get that lamp. But
Ruby did go to get that, yeah. But very late Lamp would have meant that,
Dark World access.
yeah, because with gloves... Yeah, gloves being in Hype Cave and where was the other one? It was in HollowKnight somewhere.
Kingsbrand?
Yeah,
Kingsbrand, that's right.
Yeah, after Corner 2.
Yeah. So that was a really interesting in terms of logic. I think the logic was trying to like do a very late Dark World. Like it was waiting more Hollow Knight gameplay instead of waiting more Link to the Past gameplay, and it required you to go out of logic to finish in like a shorter amount of time. But
I mean, I know.
Yeah, it's very
I
strange.
know when they were vetting the seed, they were taking into account what tricks were in logic or not in logic, but what tricks we were allowing. So they probably saw that the lamp was late, and it didn't really matter because Darkroom navigation was on our allowed list.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe the person I had that was vetting it, believe they knew, though I didn't talk directly about them. They did not tell me anything about that big key on pedestal. I'm just double checking.
Yeah, Tower of Hera big key on pedestal was pretty funny.
They did make like a small cheat sheet map for me of, oh, these items in these locations, nothing over Master Sword pedestal, just to possibly give it away or anything. But I guess I'll post it. I'll post the spoiler log itself and this nice cheat sheet image I got at the end once the other team is done, or we have them. Oh, we're doing
and Ice Pile Spawn Jump. I think that's it. Yeah, there we go. First try. Really quick lane up. I also did notice oh, that's unfortunate. Arcos, you opted to get boots pretty late as well. Did you hint it at all, or did you just end up finding it?
I did not hint them. There was one of the hint tiles, it said boots were near Sparks. I was not sure which location that was, so I just kind of went along.
I also wasn't sure.
I mean, I know there's a few tile hints that can give you multiple locations, like Needs Bombs is like 4 different ones. So I wasn't entirely sure what near Sparks was.
Yeah, I don't like personally. I don't play with hints on because it's not typically allowed for like the typical rando racing rule set. But for Archipelago, I think it's kind of required. But yeah, that was pretty funny. So I actually didn't know what that meant. But yeah, there are some funny names.
The Meyer Shed in that case.
I mean,
Yeah, but I'm not sure what Sparks refers to.
I guess because of the medallion?
No, it's the little not the fire bars, the single fireballs that trace around walls. Those are sparks.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
I
Yeah.
figured that out about 20 minutes after I got the hint, puzzling out what the heck it meant. I didn't remember that there were sparks in the Meyer Shed, so I didn't even think to go there. I was thinking like Tower of Hera big chest maybe because there's a spark that literally sits on that chest. Or like, well, my first thought was actually there aren't sparks in King's Tomb, are there? Never mind, that was wrong entirely.
No, there are sparks in are there any? There's one in Skullwoods, I believe.
There's one in Skullwoods. There are a few in Mire.
Yeah, in Maya, maybe Thieves Town. I don't quite remember.
I believe there's only the normal fire bars in Thieves Town.
Yeah, no, you're right. And also, questions for Mirror. How many nail directions did you finish with? Because
Up slash.
I think you only had.
Slash, yeah.
Yeah, that was really. It was not only impressive to see you navigating around that, but it was also quite entertaining when, you would get to certain points and then I would be like, oh, why is he not doing that? And then realizing, oh, you can't lever skip without an upwards nail.
Yeah, I just forgot level skip upwards. But I forgot during the Radiance fight, for the last hit, I forgot that I don't have the right slash, so I bounced off
Yeah,
one.
I did also notice that. You came very close to dying, but it was very funny.
Yeah.
So we'll just note that the right slash was on Shade Cloak and the left slash was on Pyramid Fairy.
Okay.
Oh yeah, those probably weren't happening.
Oh, yeah, no, that's not happening.
Up slash was the most important for Radiance, so...
Not only did they get through most of the seed without up slash, they also didn't even hint it until the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, we forgot that the costs were so low though, so we didn't hint that much. Or I didn't hint that much.
Yeah, I did know that you two made more ambitious plays without knowledge, while Ruby and Farv focusing more on their hints and then trying to play off of those. But unfortunately, it seems to have led them in the wrong direction. Also, just noting talking to the person I did vet the seed with, they did actually mention the Tower of Hera Big Key on Ped with the Hera Pot. They did also mention that the lamp was supposedly early Watcher's Spire. So, yeah, they mentioned early Merlin lamp for the early Aga play, but we had the Aga plays without the lamp, so...
Yeah, both teams doing Aga 1 in the dark, actually.
Yeah.
I feel like Aga 1 in the dark is the worst one just because of the pits across the climb.
I would like Aga 1 in the dark is probably my least favorite dark room in the game, I would say. Like, I can deal with Total Rock, I can deal with Misery Mire, I can deal with Palace of Darkness, but Aga 1 is just, it's so tedious as well.
Yeah, it's a lot of using, like, pushing against the wall with a sword to make sure that you're lined up to the next thing.
Exactly.
I'm just going to jump in real quick to say we have less than 15 minutes left in the estimate. Chat, we have $69 to go to get that extra showcase. Let's keep getting those donations going.
I haven't really been paying that much attention to whether Ruby and Fire and Go mode yet. I don't think they are. They still need Ether Medallion in order to get into Total Rock, which is in Resting Grounds, we do know that. And I'm not quite sure about the white. I'm pretty sure Ruby has 2 white fragments, and I think if he does not already have it, Hera is in the next few rooms in Queen's Gardens.
I believe that's
So-
what I'm going for
Yeah,
right
Hera
now.
and 1 white fragment were in Queen's Gardens.
Yeah, and Deep Nest was also kind of stacked this seed with both. I think it was both Wings and Cloak, was it?
Don't remember what I did in Deep Nest. I mostly did I only did the drop down and the mimic room.
Wings were on the Nosk mimic.
Oh right, that one. Yeah, I
Yeah.
got back for that one.
Okay, it looks like Ruby is actually in go mode, so they might be going for that ether. Which
Yeah. They're not at resting grounds right now.
Do they have the essence?
Maybe
for
they're
it?
on their way there now.
oh, they don't have
Ah.
ether hinted. So that's the issue here.
Oh, yeah. They might not have the essence for it because I noticed that I believe it was Mirror, did you take the dream tree like pretty much as soon as you got into resting grounds?
Yes, when I remembered that I had Dream Nail, I got it for the. I think wasn't there Moon? No. What was on there?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Moon
it was
Pearl.
Moonpearl.
It was for Moon
We had
Pearl.
hinted that, so as soon as they got
Yeah.
there, it was such a small essence
Yeah.
cost that we just figured the tree would be easier.
Yeah, that's absolutely the right play in my eyes. I think that was really smart. And getting the Moon Pearl that fast is really, really nice because it meant that you were able to go, like, as soon as you got out of Aghanim 1, you were able to go straight to Hype Cave, and Hype Cave had both the Fire Rod and, what was it?
The gloves.
The Fire Rod and the gloves, yeah, which is huge.
And I think it was,
Yeah,
I think
so
it was,
really good
I
logic.
think it was right after Hype Cave that I hinted the flute and saw that was on
Bumper Cave,
Bumper
yeah.
Cave. So it's like, oh, let me do the south checks, and then I'm just going to go straight there and get that.
I never got
It
to
was-
explain the meaning behind Hype Cave as well.
Yeah, it really did. It was glove fired and the Mizumar big key, which was ended up being needed.
Yeah, so the name behind Hype Cave, I believe, came from one of the first ever Link to the Past randomizer tournaments. There was like a statistical anomaly with how good Hype Cave was for quite literally almost every match in bracket. So it just started being called Hype Cave, and it's been called that ever since.
Love to
As
see
far as I'm
how-
aware.
Love to see how randomizers themselves change the game and change the community.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Speaking of the Link to the Past randomizer community, all this time we haven't come up with anything better than Cave 45 for Cave 45. Like it's literally
That's
just,
true.
isn't that literally just it's the 45th cave in the game files, and that's why it's called Cave 45.
That
Yeah, or the ID is 45 or something like that.
Something like that.
I barely ever call it Mirror Cave, to be honest, though, because Cave 45, because I don't know, it's just dumb name. I don't even know what I would call it.
I mean, Mirror Cave does make sense, right? Because it's the cave that you need to have Magic Mirror to get to.
Yeah,
I mean, that doesn't really differentiate it from the Graveyard Ledge Cave, though. Because that could also technically be called Mirror Cave.
That is true.
yeah, I just call it Mirror Cave because, like, all of the other caves that you need the mirror for already have their own name for it anyway, so...
Fair enough. That, yeah.
Like, if I was referring to, like, Checkerboard Cave or, like, Graveyard Ledge or... there's so many, but yeah. I guess Mirror Cave outside Shovel.
I think you actually got all but one.
Outside,
'Cause I think the only other cave that requires mirror is Mimic Cave, isn't it?
Yes. No, Spike Cave doesn't require...
Yeah, no, Spike Cave
does
is
not
Dark
require
World,
mirror.
It's just Mimic Cave.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I assume there would be more. That's interesting.
Alright, with Ether on King's Idol. Don't see.
King's Idol Resting Grounds. I think they may have not hinted for it yet.
No. See, Ruby just hinted for World Sense. the link for their big key in Desert Palace, which I find is in GT. So I don't think they'll be finished with in the next 10 or so minutes.
No, I think unfortunately they might be too far away.
At this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, congratulations, Miro and Akos, on your win.
Well, thank you. It was a fun seed for sure.
Yeah, it certainly looked like it. I had a lot of fun commentating it. There were some really cool, like, nuances to it.
And dying a lot.
So I go tell our unfortunate losers
Quick question.
and bring them up here.
Quick question, real fast. Are the hint tiles display? Are they in the in the spoiler log, or are those just not?
No, because that's
No.
Okay, so
purely generated in game.
so the self-aware hint tile and blind comment were completely out of left field, and nobody planned for those.
They had no idea that was going on.
The way that hint tiles work, I believe, is that there's a bunch of preset, like, sentence structures. So, like,
yes.
the blank is near blank, and then each item has, like, it's got, like, a dictionary of different names and such.
For Archipelago,
So I think it's just auto-generated.
for Archipelago, it can also give you hints in other worlds, though. So those function more like the actual Archipelago hints do.
Right, yeah. I was gonna say, because, like, hints, I typically don't play with hints on, because I typically play with, like, the ladder rule set a lot of the time.
Right.
So hints aren't allowed for that. So I actually, like, that's why it confused me so much about Sparky, because I just never heard of it before. You do kind of have to know the pedestal hints, because that's the only time where hints actually appear in, like, a
Yeah.
legalized rule set. But yeah.
But yeah, I was curious if those showed up in the spoiler log, because I know, at least for the standalone Ocarina of Time randomizer, the Gossip Stone hints are listed in the spoiler logs for those. So
Interesting.
I wasn't sure if it worked the
Alright,
same way
I'm
for Link
bringing
to the
up the
Past, and
others.
those would be here or not.
I still gotta do Desert Palace.
Welcome.
Hello, welcome.
Fortunate. You unfortunate followed the wrong path.
All right, what was the
and
killer? What lost it for us?
The killer
Oh,
almost
I know-
almost certainly was the Tower of Hera. They keep
Yeah.
on said. Honestly, it was almost certainly that. The fact that you did the forget which dungeon was not ice.
Eastern was the last. pendant.
Eastern Palace,
doing-
Eastern Palace, Skullwoods,
Oh,
and
yeah.
Palace of Darkness, I want to say, were the
Yes.
3
Your
pendants.
chase after Eastern Palace and getting the Book of Medora, the shopkeeper's key, instead of going for Quake for Turtle Rock, that was absolutely.
Yeah, where was that, by the
Yeah.
way?
I
It was
still
in
don't-
Resting
Ether.
Grounds Idle.
Ether.
Okay.
Yeah, I never came back down here.
Yeah, it was the Resting Grounds Idle. So that
I mean, you
also
probably-
requires 200 essence.
You wouldn't get that if you don't have it hinted because it requires 200 essence.
Exactly.
Wait, there's
and
is
there's
it,
only
there's something
one
that
check in there.
there's something that requires essence other than
Yeah,
seer.
to
Blade
open
of
the
Hope
door.
requires 200
Yeah,
essence.
you have to
Where's
talk to
the-
the. You have to talk
Right.
to the seer to open the door.
Glade of Hope. Oh yeah. We were never going there. That's
Alright, I
rough.
posted the-
Okay.
Spoiler, the little cheat sheet I got.
So,
Let me
Tar, did you see that?
click time.
Did you see that that hint tile in Tower of Hera? Out of curiosity.
Remind me what it was.
The Tower of Hera hint tile was that the Tower of Hera big key is on pedestal.
I must have not read it. I must have,
Oh.
or either that, or I didn't even think about it.
Yeah, because that was
Because
pretty much what won the race.
Yeah,
That too as well.
I learned
It's
Hera Pot live
it's
on
so
stream
bad
once.
too.
Anyways,
I-
shout outs
it's-
to our tournament organizers for vetting an all dungeons key for the rate.
Yeah. It's so funny because way earlier in the run, I was gonna do Haripot, and then
Yeah,
I
we
messed
saw
it
it.
up because I was like, I must have the pixel alignment wrong. Well, there's something else I can do. I'll come back here later.
And you're out of bombs as well, so...
Yeah.
So I think specifically the thing that you had wrong, the thing that can mess up the pixel alignment is that if you pick up an item, like let's say the mini Moldorm drops an item and you pick it up before it stops bouncing, your pixel alignment can be messed up until you leave and come back from Tower of Hera. I don't know why that is the case, but it is actually a possibility, and I'm pretty sure that's what happened.
That's really gross.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's such a niche random thing as well. So like the way to avoid that is either you don't kill the mini Moldorm, or if he's in the way, you have to wait for the item to stop bouncing specifically, and then it's safe to pick up. Very niche knowledge, but it does happen sometimes.
Alright, well, on to hopefully better pastures. Shall we talk about Click?
Yeah, I think we have to.
So,
What's Click?
we'd like to bring Click, switch over and bring Click up on the screen. There we go, we see it right there at the bottom. You can see, I'm not sure if you can see my mouse or not, but here's his Click. Truly one of the games of all time. You probably can't read it with how small the screen is on stream, but this game, Click, was made by Far themselves. It's a wonderful game.
Nobody
I've all
told
set
me.
up. And so I'm just going to connect, and we're going to see what Click is. Here we go. This is Click.
I don't see it on the stream.
Got a big button in purple.
Does anyone else see it on
as-
the stream?
Yeah.
I
It is,
I do not see it on the stream. Oh,
I see it on stream at the very bottom below
Oh, yep,
the
there it
commentators.
is. Okay.
there it is. There it is.
So I'm not sure if you can read this, but it says there is no button. Oh, this is lovely. So and you have a nice text client as well here. And this archipelago icon here. Let me just click on this. Oh yes, it's the item on the desk, and it's giving me button activation. So now the button has activated, and it says, if you don't quite hard to read it, but it says graphic design is my person, which is a actually custom button text submitted by yours truly. This was not planned. These button text is randomized from a large pool of items both for the locked and unlocked button. So now let's click on this button. And I have finished the game of Click. Truly a wonderful game. And as you can read, it says, congratulations.
Shoutouts to my buddy Saber Rider for suggesting it be spelled exactly like that.
And this has been your showcase of Click.
Congratulations.
Incredible.
Version, whichever, coming soon-ish. I don't want to push on far, but maybe, I don't know.
Well, you see, if
It'll
we
be
get it in
eventually.
writing, then
Eventually.
it definitely won't happen.
Big thank you
So-
to everyone who
so
donated
ju-
to see that showcase.
Thank you for donating for that.
With that being said, does everyone want to tell folks where they can be found if people want to see more of this incredible gaming? Let's maybe start with the winning team.
Do you want to start?
Go ahead.
Well, I have a Twitch channel, but I basically never stream, so you're better to find me on the Archipelago server, where I'm playing games with other players.
I will second that Archipelago server comment. And I stream sometimes fairly irregularly, but I think you all have it, right? To send it somewhere or show it or whatever. I think we discussed it beforehand. Everybody, if everybody had a...
The channels are linked in the
Okay, then,
description of the...
But yeah, it's down there then, so...
Well, thank you both. And how about our unfortunate losing team? How about you? Where can folks find you?
Yeah, I'm taking a hike into the woods after this one. But if you don't find me out there, you can probably find me again on the Archipelago Discord server, or I'm on Blue Sky, and also that other website. I don't know what they're calling it now. I've heard they changed it. Anyways, I'm on Blue Sky, Ruby Roo at B Sky.
Excellent. And Far?
Yeah, so you can also catch me on Blue Sky where I post random stuff, handle at farware.com. But I'm mostly just lurking in the Archipelago server, where I will now be deleting Link to the Past and HollowKnight from the repository after this stream.
Only click.
Yeah, only click.
Only click. Sounds incredible. And our lovely commentators, where can folks find you?
Hold it. I'll go first so I can close us all out.
Yeah, I stream every now and again on my Twitch channel, Vaichisuki. I'm usually lurking in the HollowKnight speedrunning community. And every now and again I'll pop into the the Link to the Past speedrunning Discord. But yeah, I am currently primarily a HollowKnight speedrunner, so yeah.
Alright, so I'd like to just give a shout out to everyone else that participated in this tournament that happened. In no particular order, we had Violet, Trent R, Jofis, Palix, Abaccio, Dank Santa, Garbo, The Breadstick, SGZ, who was the one who helped vet the seed and came and decided, yeah, let's do Haripot, Harry Ujin, Cole, and Felix. Thank you all for participating. Hopefully get to run some more less stressful and time crunch Archipelago tournaments in the future on the Archipelago server itself, and maybe with the Multithon community. Join the Archipelago community and play at archipelago.gg. Simple website. Thank you for letting me do this.
Thank you for hosting this incredible tournament and this fantastic finale, and that click showcase, which was super cool, was a really great way to end this.
Best game on
But
AP.
with that, I agree. That was fantastic, and it is one that I do enjoy playing in AP myself. But with that being said, chat, don't go away. There's still a little bit more to come. We'll be back in just a minute.